email from Brian. So the guy with the banner, did you read from Brian what he sent us? The guy with the obscene banner about one of the board members that called her.
I'm going to call the November regular meeting to order. Ms. Bowie, will you call the roll?
Good evening, Melissa Mason.
Here.
Josie Barnhart. Here. Pat Bradford.
I am here.
Judy Justice. Dr. Tim Merrick.
Present.
David Perry.
Here.
And Pete Wildebohr.
Also present.
We're going to have the invocation, which will be remotely, and then following that, we will have the presentation of colors, national anthem, and the Pledge of Allegiance. So.
Eric Moulton with St. John's Episcopal Church here in Wilmington to offer a recorded invocation for the meeting of the Board of Education. Let us pray. God of wonder and words, who inspires learning and curiosity and who ignites the intellect of all people, empower the work of this Board of Education with wisdom, discernment, and humility, that the children in our care may thrive in true knowledge, that educators may be empowered and continually inspired, that parents may engage in the enterprise of learning with their kids, and that our entire Wilmington community may joyfully take ownership for the advancement of every student, to the glory of your name and to the blessing of the world, through Jesus Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
Presentation of colors.
Pace yourself, there's a lot of them.
You were forced to come here.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, guys, we're going to keep it super simple. Just your name and pass it down the line, all right?
Presley Adair. Sully Hall. Noah Toby. Adlin Kavanda. Crew Donovan. Colton Mendoza. Maylee Meyer. Harper Miller. Nadia Shaw. Allison Fasciani. Aaliyah Laguna. Coraline Norris. Sarah Vulgaris. Maya Guerra. Avery Galligan. Maria McCormack. Ava Thomas. Georgia Owen. Kimori McCoy. Amaya Clinton. Claire Dante. Nell Sleesman. Kayla McAuliffe. Ashton Dixon.
Timothy Walker.
Liam Thomas. Weston Falcioni. Riker Hatcher.
Milo Frank.
Henley Bullard. Julia Bassett. Kate Anlin. Ryan Elmore. Max Mullis. Eliza Bestwick. Annabelle Beitia. Rylan Benton. Matthew Pennington. Colton Bell. Waylon Conley. Max Moisey.
And our ROTC. Oh, guys. Our ROTC. You guys did awesome.
Hi, Taylor Akel, Laney High School, senior.
Dylan George, I'm a senior at Laney High School.
Cole Miller, I'm also a senior at Laney High School.
Lucas Jenkins, I'm a junior at Laney High School.
It's hard. At the end of the day, it's hard. I get it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you guys did great.
Bye, y'all. Thank you. Oh man, he's got a roll.
Don't hurt yourself. It's okay. It doesn't have to hurt. We'll wait for you.
We went to Raleigh earlier this year. We took a high school football player on crutches, and oh my gosh,
That's hard work. I've been there.
he was something
several
else.
times.
Sometimes it's just a matter of unplugging the dock and plugging it back in, but I'd be afraid to do that part.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. See the mouse is
All right, let's carry on with the agenda. Next up is the approval of the agenda.
Can't hear you. I make a motion to amend the agenda to move up under information.
We can't
Point of
hear.
order, Madam Chair.
Oh,
Can we
okay.
wait? I can't
Sorry.
hear anything.
Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to amend the agenda under information to move the one school, one book Wrightsboro Elementary prior to the call to audience. They are waiting here to present to us. Everybody else under information is from senior staff. So I would move to bring that up prior to call to
I'll
audience.
second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 6-0.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Perfect. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Next up, we have the approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 6-0. Moving right through. Somebody's going to win money. Next up is recognitions.
Everyone, thank you for this opportunity to be here this evening. We have a wonderful opportunity to showcase some of the most amazing people who work in our district. So first and foremost, let me say thank you to them for always providing amazing support to everyone in our schools. But we're here to celebrate. There are 14 school districts in North Carolina that received a national award for innovation in nutrition education. Thanks to our child nutrition department, we were one of them. So, a little bit about this now. So we earned the Healthy Meal Incentives Innovation in Nutrition Education Award from the USDA Food and Nutrition Services and Action for Healthy Kids by making improvements to the nutritional quality of our district school meals. So what does that mean? That means that they created innovative practices, student community engagement activities, and strategies schools have used to provide meals that are consistent with the dietary guidelines for Americans. As an award recipient, they are going to receive not just local recognition, but national recognition to attend a National Healthy Meals Summit. During the summit, they get to share best practices with everyone in our nation. So, how did they achieve this? We all know that healthy isn't always tasty, but they made it tasty. So, they were able to lower sodium and added sugars in the school meals, and they gave healthy makeovers to popular items. They also provided menus that reflect the culture of students and improve nutrition education across the district. So at this moment, I would love for the board to come down and join me in celebrating our very own child nutrition department. Thank you guys very much. That does conclude recognitions. However, in December, I would like to ask for 30 minutes, please. Thank you very much. Just kidding, just kidding.
I was thinking
On the agenda, it says administrative introductions, but we do not have any this month, so we're going to continue forward with the next item, which is the teacher voice. And we have Lori Roy, Math 1 teacher at Hoggard High, present.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Lori Roy, and I teach at Hoggard. Go Bikes. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you today about our district vision for Math 1, and to share our progress in guiding students towards confidence and success in mathematics. So North Carolina Math 1 is a foundational course that all students have to take. It's part of their math pathway, and it integrates algebra, geometry, and statistics to help students understand how math works in the real world. The curriculum is not just about memorizing formulas and algorithms, however, it's about helping students become flexible and creative and critical thinkers who can apply what they've learned to new challenges. Success in Math 1 often establishes skills, confidence, and mindset that carry forward into future math courses. When students succeed here with us in Math 1, they are more likely to see themselves as capable learners in all areas of mathematics. An important part of our work is changing the way students and adults think about math. Too often we hear, "I am not a math person." We are committed to replacing that idea with all students can learn math. This shift starts with every adult who interacts with our students. By focusing on building problem solvers and mathematical confidence, we are creating a culture where every student believes in their ability to succeed. While sure, this is ambitious, it is necessary because every student matters and we owe it to them to create a learning environment where success in math is possible for everyone. So, how are we going to do that? Well, this summer, we formed a district-wide Math 1 vision team, and it includes teacher leaders, principals, assistant principals, and district-level support, and it's guided by our 612 math curriculum specialist, Katie Martin. The vision team developed 6 agreements for Math 1, all Math 1 teachers, to provide consistent support across the district. Those items include using the core Amplify curriculum, formerly Desmos, you may have heard of it, while integrating supplemental resources as needed. So we worked as a team to create some of those supplemental resources so teachers have them at their fingertips as needed as well, and they can supplement with their own. We plan through weekly PLCs. We've agreed that incorporating research-based instructional routines into our regular day-to-day structure is critical, using common formative assessments and grading structures across the district, and then maintaining consistent parent communication. All of that creates a goal. Our goal is a consistent, high-quality experience for every Math 1 student, no matter which school that they are attending. We have also worked to unify curriculum and resources across the district. So teachers have collaborated to refine those Amplify materials and create a scope and sequence that reflects our students' needs here in Hanover County. We've created shared academic vocabulary, we've aligned up pacing, and we've coordinated assessments to allow us to analyze data and improve instruction together. The results are already visible. Students are more engaged, they're asking questions, taking risks. Teachers are reporting feeling supported and confident, knowing that they can collaborate and access resources when needed. And this support and engagement are exactly what we had hoped to achieve with the vision team in our curriculum work. So long term, we are already looking ahead, and those goals are clear. We want to improve Math 1 end of semester outcomes on the EOC, obviously. We really want to start our next step, strengthening math alignment with Math 2 and Math 3 and beyond, and then continuing to build a district culture of collaboration, perseverance, and belief in students' abilities. So in closing, our work in Math 1 is about more than just standards. It's about building thinkers who believe in their own ability to succeed. We are proud of the progress we've made and grateful for the support of both our district and our school leadership. And we thank you for believing in our work as well and for supporting our teachers and for helping ensure that every student in New Hanover County can succeed at math. Thank you.
All right. And I would have to agree, go Vikings. Woo-hoo. One in there and one on the way there. So, next item is the superintendent's report.
I promise I'll let them clear the door first. Go, save yourselves. All right, good evening, everybody. As we move into November, there's a lot to be thankful for in New Hanover County Schools, and tonight I want to focus on some of the priorities that reflect who we are and what we value as a district. First off, we know that healthy meals fuel student learning. Every day, our nutrition staff serves thousands of breakfasts and lunches that help our students stay focused and ready to learn. We know that there's been some recent uncertainty around federal SNAP benefits. I want to reassure our families that school meals will continue without interruption. SNAP benefits are separate from our free reduced meal program, and eligibility for school meals is not affected. For many families, these meals are essential, and our commitment is simple. We don't let kids go hungry, period. We encourage any family who hasn't done so to apply for free reduced lunch meals. That not only helps ensure your child has access to nutrition, but also helps our district recover the costs of providing meals for students. If your family needs assistance or has questions, don't hesitate to reach out to your school counselor, your social worker, or your administrator. Beyond the school day, we're also grateful to our partnership with New Hanover County, which has created an online hub for food and nutrition resources for families with food insecurity. That website can be found on the county site, and it connects families directly to community partners offering assistance. We're grateful to them and the many community partners who work to provide for our community on a daily basis. This week, we celebrate the incredible work of our New Hanover County school psychologists, professionals who play a vital role in supporting the academic, emotional, and social well-being of our students. Their collaboration with families and staff helps ensure every student has the support they need to thrive. I want to highlight National Education Support Professionals Day, which is coming up on November 19th. This day honors the many professionals who keep our schools running: cafeteria staff, bus drivers, support associates, custodians, maintenance crews, and so forth. They are the backbone of our schools, and they're the people that make sure that students are safe, cared for, and ready to learn every day. To every one of our support professionals, thank you. We could not do this job without you. Also, as part of American Education Week, we want to recognize Substitute Educators Day on November 21st. We appreciate everyone who attended our recent substitute hiring event and those who have joined our New Hanover County Schools team to support students and teachers. As we look ahead next week to Veterans Day, I want to thank all those who have served our country. Many of our schools are holding events to honor veterans, and this year marks the 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps, a proud milestone. Please remember we have two events coming up. Operation Opportunity, Military Pathways and Student Supports, is on Tuesday, November 18th at the Spencer Building behind us here from 6 to 7:30, and a career informational session on Thursday, November 20th from 6 to 7:30 at the North Campus of Cape Fear Community College at 4500 Blue Clay Road. Finally, I want to share a few words about one of our strategic plan initiatives, which is attendance. Across the district, we've seen creative attendance campaigns taking shape. When you walk into a school and see signs at the front desk promoting attendance, classroom rewards for consistent participation, and staff checking in with students about their attendance goals, that's the plan in action. This is a collective effort among students, families, and staff. When students are in school, they're connected, supported, and learning, and that's what matters most. And of course, with Thanksgiving just around the corner, we're reminded of how much we have to be grateful for. I'm grateful for the incredible staff who pour their hearts into this work every day, the families who partner with us in supporting the children, and this community which stands with us in our mission. Together, we are going to make New Hanover County Schools a place where every student learns, grows, and thrives. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is the board chair report. So good evening. When I first learned that one of my primary responsibilities as chair was to rule on questions of procedure, I wanted to ensure I was fully prepared to do so correctly. To that end, I sought and invested in personal training with a professional registered parliamentarian. It's not something one can master in just a few sessions, so I continue to study and learn, and I believe it may be helpful to share a few of these procedural tidbits with board members as we move forward so that we can all better understand the framework under which we conduct our meetings. A procedural tidbit I'd like to share relates to the parliamentary procedure at a glance sheet that Ms. Nelson provided for us and I placed on board members' areas. This chart can be an excellent quick reference tool. If you look closely, the motions are listed in order of precedence. That is the order in which they take priority during discussion. The process begins with introducing business, which is referred to as a main motion. Any motion listed above the main motion in order of precedence may be introduced and will take priority over the main motion. For example, a motion to refer a matter to a committee can be made while a main motion is pending. This motion requires a second and a majority vote for adoption. If adopted, it sends the main motion to committee and eliminates further debate or voting on the main motion until the committee reports back. Before moving on, I'd like to take a moment to recognize a very special event that happened on October 17th, which was the Special Olympics Fall Games. This event continues to be one of the most uplifting and inspiring moments of our school year. Our students, volunteers, teachers, and staff come together to celebrate inclusion, perseverance, and sportsmanship. The joy and enthusiasm shown by all participants truly embody the spirit of our schools and our community. And I want to express heartfelt appreciation to everyone who helped make the Fall Games such a success and to our student athletes who represented us with such pride and determination. And I have to say that my favorite thing to watch was the dancing, because that looked like the most fun. Turning to another exciting piece of news, we've recently received official word that U.S. News & World Report has released its Best Schools Report, ranking thousands of schools across the country based on factors such as socioeconomics and performance data. In the elementary category, out of 2,142 elementary schools in North Carolina, 2 of our schools ranked in the top 10 statewide. Wrightsville Beach Elementary at number 7 and Masonboro Elementary at number 9. To put that in perspective, the top 10% includes 214 schools and the top 1% just 21 schools, so these are remarkable achievements. Additionally, 2 of our middle schools, Noble and Murray, placed in the top 10% of the 1,362 middle schools across the state, and our own Hoggard High School is ranked among the top 100 high schools in North Carolina. These recognitions are a direct reflection of the hard work and dedication of our students, teachers, administrators, and families. Please join me in congratulating all who contributed to these outstanding accomplishments. Thank you, and this concludes my report. Accomplishments. It's a big word. Next item is One School, One Book, Wrightsboro Elementary School.
He's being bashful. Good evening. I am Michelle Faison, the proud principal of Wrightsboro Elementary School, and we are so excited to be here tonight to highlight our One School, One Book that we have been participating in for the first quarter of this school year. This program was kind of born out of our focus is reading as a district, our third grade, we have a focus, but at Wrightsboro Elementary School, we have a very high multilingual population, and so we have a lot of students. About a quarter of our student population are English learners, and close to 50% of our families are Spanish-speaking families. So we have always tried to make it a focus to get our families involved and make them really feel part of our community. And we felt like this was a really good way to get everyone's involvement and get them excited about literacy and reading and be able to provide the families with the resources they need. So I don't want to spend a lot of time talking because the people standing behind me are the powerhouses and the people who have brought this program to life. I've simply just given permission for everything to happen and cheered them along the way. They've done all the behind-the-scenes hard work, so I would like to introduce them, and then we'll go on with our presentation. So first, we have Emma Calderon, and she is a first-grade teacher, and one of her little friends is here with us as well with his mom, and he's also a student in Mrs. Calderon's class. And He's being a little bashful. He has a little friend with him, but we're going to talk about his little friend in a minute. We have Ariana Jones. She's also a first grade teacher. And we have Alyssa Langley, who is a fifth grade teacher. She's also one of our multi-classroom teachers. So she works as a co-teacher with 3 of our fifth grade teachers. And her children are here with us tonight to maybe speak on how they've felt about this program we've done. So we have Madeline Langley and Lucas Langley. Madeline is a 4th grader and Lucas is a 1st grader. So, without further ado, we're gonna, I'm gonna have the next, I guess this clicker, I need to use this clicker. Okay, so whoever's next.
Okay, hey guys, thank you for having us here tonight. We at Wrightsboro, I've been at Wrightsboro for a while now, and we did this program a few years ago, and so I brought it to Ms. Faison as like something I wanted to do again. I'm one of the co-chairs of the Family Involvement Committee, along with Emma, and so we worked with Ms. Faison to bring this to our school community, and as you can see on the slide, some of our purposes of why we chose to do this, like Ms. Faison said, we really want to build school-wide literacy, strengthen our community, bridge that home-school connection, increase family engagement, and encourage a love for reading. So we gave every student a copy of the book in English, and we also had Spanish copies as well. So our Spanish-speaking families got both an English version and a Spanish version. We have a reading schedule that lasted about a month, and we'll be wrapping up the book next week on November 11th. Will be our last night. And so the students had a schedule of what to read each night with their families at home. And we had questions for families to participate in at home, as well as things that we did at school, which you'll hear a little more about in a moment. We started our event with a family kickoff night right before we started reading our book. And so we had our families come in, and we had lots of different stations, activities. We had a scavenger hunt for them to kind of figure out what the main character of the book was. Some of the activities are on the screen. You can see we did a vocabulary introduction. We had a math craft. We had some technology integration from our DTL department here in New Hanover County. We've got the Spheros and the green screen from them for part of our stations. We also had a station where parents were able to take home some resources for reading at home and some activities from the classroom, as well as things that correlated with our book. And another station that was actually more popular than you might think, where students were able to read with their families some nonfiction books, and then they were able to create either a comic strip or a piece of writing right there in the moment at family night with their families. And so we actually had about 36 families that participated in the feedback survey. I don't know exactly how many signed in. Do you remember? So out of that, not every family actually did the feedback survey. So 36 that participated on the survey, they said lots of great feedback, including things about, being excited to read together as a family, to give their kids opportunities to do things that are not on the screen. We had a couple people talk about that. Having quality family time together at the family night, as well as being excited for that opportunity with the book, as well as being productive, spending quality family productive reading time at home. And they enjoyed the supports that they had for reading at home. So we were super excited to launch our event.
Hi. So like Alyssa said, each student to provide access and equity got one English copy of the book, and then students who have Spanish-speaking families got a Spanish copy of the book. To further the accessibility of the program One School, One Book, we created a website, and the website has resources for each chapter in English and Spanish for families. The resources are the vocabulary, the discussion questions, activities for families to do together. There are mindful activities that were created by the Health and Wellness Committee at Wrightsboro. And then there are read-alouds for each chapter, mostly English, and then we were able to get some people to do Spanish read-alouds as well for the website. And then through Class Dojo and social media, we provide the current link to the resources on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays to kind of keep the school still reading together and remind them where we're at in the book.
would like to add, Mrs. Calderon's husband is a teacher at New Hanover High School, and he speaks Spanish, so he was able to do some of our video recordings in Spanish, so it was really neat to have another staff member from another school, a high school, to collaborate, and so that was really neat. We appreciated his involvement.
He was voluntold one night that he's going to read a couple chapters.
He was told he couldn't watch football until he recorded the chapter.
Yes, exactly. For school-wide engagement on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, we've been doing a school-wide trivia question, and so on the announcements, a trivia question is called, and within the classroom, the class works together as a team to come up with the answer. And then whoever the fifth caller is, and they get the answer correct, hopefully, they would get to hold Thor, which is our skunk plush mascot. My class actually won today, right? We called Miss Faison, and you could hear them screaming through the phone with excitement. It was loud, huh? Yeah, he's laughing. He was definitely one of the ones screaming. We were so excited. And then on the days that we don't do the school-wide trivia, so on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do other classroom discussion prompts just to kind of keep the conversation going about the book. It could be about vocabulary, different themes going on, just different things to kind of keep the conversation going. And then for our community impact, we saw a lot of impact coming from, bridging home and school together while the kids are talking and reading at home with their families. We're also talking about it at school, and it brought community together. Like she said, like parents, volunteers, other staff from other schools were video recording the read-alouds for these friends to watch. And like I would have friends come in that watch the videos at home, and they're like, oh, Miss Mueller, we watched her video last night, our art teacher. And so they were so excited about that, and we just saw our whole school coming together at being a community, and it was really awesome. Like we're all coming together and excited to read a book together, so that was really awesome.
We have Madeline here, and so Madeline wants to say a little something about what she has enjoyed about this experience.
My favorite thing is whenever we read our book and then we go to school and then we get to actually have like questions about the book, and then we get to like talk about it, and then we get to like try to win Thor. And I know like a bunch of people are like loving it, and I am too. And then Thor was in our classroom the other day. So, yes.
Thor is you did a great job, Madeline. Good job. So yeah, Thor is a real popular guy. Good job. This was just something, I was like, we were trying to think of a prize to give the winning homeroom when they called into my office to be the winning caller. And I was like, well, we have a skunk in the book, so I'll just get a pet skunk. And I ordered the skunk, and I would have never in my lifetime dreamed that 4th and 5th graders would get so excited about winning this skunk. I mean, they will ask me in the hall, Miss Faison, where is Thor today? They're just so invested in what we're doing, and so we're really excited. So just to sum it up, we just really have built a school-wide joy with reading, and just bringing it together. And some of the pictures we've received, you can see just a couple of them up on the screen. We have kids reading in the car, one reading in his bed with flashlight at night. We have Mr. Babson, who's one of our parents. He has 3 children, one in pre-K, one in 1st grade, and one in 3rd. And so, sometimes for families to read together at night when they're all in different grade levels like that, finding time to read with all 3 children, it can be difficult. But having one book, you can see them laying in the bed together reading their chapters for the night. So it just, that'll pull at your heartstrings. So it's just really strengthened our school community, and it's been such a great thing, and it's been so wonderful. We had our Family and Community Involvement Committee meeting today after school, and I think we're going to do another book second semester. So it's been such a great thing. So thank you so much for having us tonight to present, and Thor, we'll have to see where Thor's going to go tomorrow. Do you have a question? Do you want to pet Thor? Here, I'll bring Thor.
Take a picture with Thor.
So, and if you learn anything about baby skunks in the book, you know that baby skunks, they don't spray their scent until they get to a certain age. So Thor is still okay. He's not going to stink up the room. So, but anyway, thank you.
Is the call to audience, and I will turn it over to Vice Chair Barnhart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First up tonight, we have Kamika Sitberry.
In 24-25, New Hanover County Schools had an overall grade level proficiency rate in grades 3A of 56% and in grades 9-12, 64% in reading. However, the grade level proficiency percentage for Black students in reading was 25.7% in grades 3 through 8 and 38% for Black students in grades 9 through 12. In 1997, the North Carolina Supreme Court determined that all students in North Carolina are entitled to a sound basic education, which means the sufficient ability to read, write, speak English, and sufficient knowledge of fundamental math and physical science to enable students to function in a complex, rapidly changing society. Sufficient fundamental knowledge of the geography, history, and basic economic and political systems that enable students to make informed decisions about the issues that affect the student population. Sufficient academic and vocational skills to enable students to successfully engage in post-secondary education. So, what is going wrong systematically in New Hanover County, where you have only one elementary school that meets the 50% proficiency level for Black students and one specialized high school that meets that same criteria for Black students? We must look for change. One of the things that we can do by looking for that change is to add an addendum to the academic strategic performance goal, where by 2027, 60% of the Black student population will be proficient in reading levels based on grade level proficiency. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Clark.
Thank you, Dr. Barnes and Board, for your service to our children. One only has to watch the steady moral decline of our nation to know there is a war on the hearts and minds of our children. The manifestation in our universities and society, lawlessness, violence, hate speech, disrespect. Good is evil and evil is good. When God is removed, evil fills the void. Hosea. They sow the wind and reap the whirlwind. In 1962, established prayer was removed from our schools. By 1990, divorce rate doubled. Teenage pregnancy increased 200%. Teenage suicide, 300%. Violent crimes, 500%. Proverbs. The fear of the Lord is the foundation of true knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. Jesus compared the foundation of a house built on sand to the house built on rock. Look at our universities, the lack of knowledge of our government's biblical foundation, the 10 Commandments, our moral law, citizenship. What fruit will we bear from our curriculum? Psalm 84, the Lord will withhold no good thing from those who do what is right. Forgive us, Lord, for the senseless loss of lives, for being complacent in teaching truth to our children. Use them, Lord, to carry your light to the nation. Release your glory in Jesus' name. In God we trust.
Good evening. My name is Brittany LaRue, and I stand here tonight not just as a parent, but as a member of this community who believes that every child in New Hanover County deserves a fair chance to succeed. So the $2.7 million in endowment funding, it was intended to support under-resourced schools, closing achievement gaps, strengthening classrooms that need it most. That's a vision that's worth supporting. Yet when endowment members like Mr. Stiegel suggest that these funds shouldn't go to underprivileged schools, it creates a goal that may serve the grant, but not necessarily the students who need it most. The endowment's concerns and suggestions, they may limit the flexibility to distribute the intended support adequately or even objectively. And when we pull back from our most vulnerable schools, the outcome, it really is predictable. Those already ahead, they gain more ground, while those struggling fall further behind. That may improve a few metrics, but it does not close the gap. Meanwhile, with the continued state and federal cuts, our teachers are asked to do more with less, addressing complex challenges that reach far beyond academics. This is why we need a Board of Education that does more than rubber stamp decisions. We need advocates, leaders who will fight for sustainable funding at every level of government, because county allocations and endowment grants, they can only take our education system so far. They're not a substitute for long-term structural investments our schools truly need. We cannot keep pretending that this cycle of patchwork funding is fiscal responsibility. It isn't. It's complicity in a broken system, one that overworks our teachers, underserves our students, and divides our community. So tonight I ask the board to be bold. Please stop settling. Demand better. Let our funding priorities reflect our moral priorities so that every child, regardless of zip code, has the resources to not just get by, but to truly thrive. Thank you.
Axel?
Good evening. When most people are not experienced public speakers, and indeed when some of you speak off of the microphone fast and lacking articulation, we can't understand you. What I just said was, when most people who are not experienced public speakers, and indeed when some of you speak off of the microphone, fast and inarticulate, we can't understand you. The sound in this room is terrible, and it has been for as long as I've been attending these meetings. The system may have been fine when first installed, but typically and inevitably, over time, well-intentioned but completely unknowledgeable people adjust settings and almost always make things worse. I brought this to the board's attention on several occasions and to your staff with crickets in response. Again, I offer to have a look for diagnostics. I've built 2 recording studios at no cost, but I acknowledge that an active professional audio firm like Connected Home NC or Avidix might be a good choice for diagnostics and remediation plans. These usually take the form of driving pink noise through the system into the room. White noise is all frequencies equally driven. Pink noise is white noise adjusted for the Fletcher-Munson curve, which is what the human ear hears. You then use a real-time analyzer to measure frequency response in the room, and then use a 3rd octave equalizer to tune the room, taming the offending and muddling frequencies. I've done this in numerous venues, for shows in numerous venues, including the Kennedy Center and Carnegie Hall. This problem is pretty easily fixed. So if you don't take action, it suggests that you don't care what is heard.
Veronica McLaurin-Brown.
Since the adoption of Policy 4302, the School Plan of Management of Student Behavior in 2021, New Hanover County schools have been very busy. Over the past 4 years, elementary school educators and administrators have developed and implemented school-wide behavior plans, and they're reviewed annually and sometimes revised based on their student behavior data. These plans differ from the school district's code of conduct in a few ways. Instead of 6 levels of corrective and restorative responses, most of them use just 3 levels. And instead of generic corrective strategies, Their interventions often reflect some of the recent professional development they receive, including the STOIC framework and the CHAPS approach. Love Our Children North Carolina hopes that as the behavior leadership teams review and update their plans this year, they will incorporate the neuroscience-based findings from the reframing behavior training. Because by understanding how the nervous system shapes behavior and the power of co-regulation, we reframe behavior as a sign of stress. When we assume stress before intent, we shift from punishment to support, from reaction to regulation. Last month, Dr. Barnes shared that there were only 6 K-2 out-of-school suspensions since August, the lowest to date. That's progress. And it is not an accident. It's the result of intentional planning, professional growth, and annual reviews. Congratulations. Congratulations. We wish the elementary school staff continued success keeping our kids in school learning and thriving. So thank you for the progress you have made.
Loretta Stackhouse.
On October 14, WHQR reported on an alleged assault on 2 children in one of our elementary schools. It shared Dr. Barnes' statement on safety and on reporting any concerns by using the school district's Ethnic 360 platform. At the end of his statement, he said, quote, "We remain committed to transparency, accountability, and ensuring a safe and supportive learning environment for every student," end quote. One board member spoke at last month's meeting about transparency for the district's discipline data. It was requested that the data be posted and updated quarterly or monthly on the district website. Love Our Children strongly supports that idea. We know this aggregated data can be presented without identifying any students. We know we hear about the feasibility of posting suspension data later this evening. We also like to see the 3-year trend that was shared during last month's discipline data presentation, as well as one that wasn't shared, the 3-year trend of K-2 suspensions. And speaking of transparency, what's up with seclusions? Post the 3-year trend on seclusions and tell the public which spaces are being used to seclude children. We believe that this data and information will help enforce the board's policy making and update the code of conduct. Feedback is the engine to improvement, and data is an important feedback.
Barbara Garrow.
Dr. Lori DeSantis wrote, "Behavioral challenges are nervous system challenges. That's why it's important to understand that behavior is not just a choice. It's also a reflection of what's happening in the child's nervous system. When children feel safe, supported, and connected, their brains are ready to learn, and they cooperate. When they feel threatened, stressed, or overwhelmed, the part of the brain responsible for thinking and self-control can go offline, and we may see disruptive behavior as a result, in adults as well. Student Behavior Policy 4300 needs to be revised to reflect the science. The goal shouldn't be focused on maintaining order and obedience, but rather to teach children the lifelong skills of self-regulation, empathy, and healthy relationships. I hope there's still time to take advantage of the reframing behavior training and learn about co-regulation, calm, caring adult responses that help students return to a state where learning is possible. And read about restorative practices that can help children repair harm, rebuild trust, and strengthen community. Positive behavioral supports, felt safety,
and developmentally appropriate interventions help every student grow, not through fear of punishment, but through understanding, connection, and agency. Let's create schools where behavior management is not about control, but about learning the skills and values our students need to thrive and need to have in their lives. Thank you.
Yolanda Hernandez? Yolanda? No? Christina Mercier?
Communication. I could argue that consistent and effective communication is critical in any setting. Poor communication led to Romeo and Juliet's deaths. In real life, the Salem witch trials, fueled by hysteria and miscommunication, led to the deaths of multiple people. I've mentioned before that communicating with both New Hanover County Schools and the board has been frustrating. I sympathize that the board receives a lot of mail. However, when I was teaching, I was expected to answer all emails within 24 hours, even if I had received dozens upon dozens of messages. I try not to email the board often, maybe a few times a year, yet I rarely get a response. Now, if I've spoken to a board member in person, I don't expect an email, but I'm left to wonder if my attempt at communication was even read or just deleted. There are people sitting on the board right now who, if you try to approach them to ask questions or attempt to discuss an issue, they call security and claim harassment. But if you email, they never answer it. This same person joyfully declared at the agenda review meeting that they'll be introducing a way to shorten meetings soon. I'm going to venture that means that call to the audience will be affected again, even though at this point, call to the audience is the only way to ensure board members who are elected officials hear concerns from their constituents. Of course, I've seen members looking at their phones during call to the audience, so maybe it's an exercise in frustration for those of us who care about the schools. I've heard board members talk about mandates from their voters for years now, but I'd like to remind the board that you represent everyone, not just those who voted for you. No one likes to be ignored. Perhaps in your multiple conversations about decorum, you'll discuss how rude it is to ignore people who reach out with legitimate concerns or suggestions. As well, can the schools get a handle on public records requests? In July, I asked for a personnel report because it was never attached and the request is still open, but there was one that was addressed that ended up giving out the teacher's home address. Do better.
Thank you. Your time is up. Leslie Posey?
Good evening. Do you know what acronyms are? Acronyms are combinations of letters, usually the first letters of words. For example, SCUBA means self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Often when acronyms are used too much, we forget what they stand for, or we let ourselves be swayed into thinking they mean something else. An example is SEL. Do you remember this stands for social emotional learning? It does not mean indoctrination. Let's look at these words one at a time. I'm going to skip learning because hopefully that's obvious. So, social. Teaching kids to be social means several things. Things like taking turns, not cutting in line, playing nicely together, not calling names, sitting and listening when someone is talking, not interrupting. For older children and adults, it may mean things like following a dress code, being on time for appointments. There are many people who argue that these skills should be taught at home, and therefore using the word social in school must mean something else. No, these skills may be taught at home, or they may not. Either way, all skills have to be practiced, everywhere, often. When I took square dancing lessons, our instructor told us when we had done every move 300 times, our feet would never forget how. Hopefully, social skills do not require 300 repetitions, but they do require a lot of practice. So teaching social skills in school is critical. Moving on, emotional. Understanding and controlling your emotions is a learned skill. Kids need to learn what to do when they feel bad. They need to learn ways to deal with someone or something that upsets them, how to disagree with someone who has different opinions. Some adults could use these lessons too. So, SEL, social emotional learning, is teaching kids the basic rules of living together in society, which is something all of us need to practice more.
Thank you. Bryce McDonald?
I'm Bryce McDonald. I'm proud to say I've had 4 kids get high school diplomas from the New Hanover County Schools in the last 12 years, despite my incredibly advanced age. There is a document floating around about character education. Now, there are 2 levels to this in my mind. One is the George Washington, I cannot tell a lie, personal integrity. The second is academic integrity. And I have had 4 events, personal experience, which suggests to me that academic integrity is not only not practiced in the New Hanover schools, but the kids are witnessing what the teachers do. 4 examples. First, Noble Middle School. A teacher compares slavery to the Shoah. Everybody know what the Shoah is? It's the Hebrew term for the Holocaust. A Jewish student says, well, wait a minute, they killed 6 million Jews. The teacher's response was to put this kid who lived for soccer a step a week to get him kicked off the soccer team. That got reversed because the family went to the principal. Second, moved to Laney High School. Teacher says in class, Hitler was good at his job killing people. A Jewish student took umbrage at that, strangely enough, got up, stormed out of the room, slammed the door, broke the window. The parents received a threatening call from the administration about you're going to replace that window and we're going to send you an invoice for it. I'm looking for any academic integrity here. I spoke at Ashley High School at an AP class on government. And it was a great class. Teacher was excellent, kids were excellent, good dialogue, smart questions. And at the end, I raised a topic which is near and dear to me. I said that...
Thank you. Your time is up.
Say again?
Your time is up. Renegade Cherokee.
Greetings and salutations. To the Pookies, Ray Rays, Chads, and Sanchos who come to school and behave foolishly, causing the other children who are trying to learn be distracted by the shenanigans, it doesn't matter if they're age 4 through 7. If they're being disruptive, and in some cases violent because they come from a broken home, then the parents need to exercise some corporal punishment to reel these little delinquents in. If they can't, then corporal punishment needs to be reinstated in New Hanover County schools. When I was a student, Mr. Brandon, When I was a student, Mr. Brandon wielded a paddle like a Viking. Mrs. Sneed would shake the mess out of you no matter how big you were if you were cutting up. She was maybe 5 foot tall with stark white hair. Mrs. Vick at Virgo didn't play around either. Mr. Dorman, former football player with the Chicago Bears, did not play with us unruly young men. I speak fondly of my school days at New Hanover County Schools because I remember the disciplined atmosphere that was there then. Fear of a paddling would keep a wayward boy or youth in check. Now it seems as if the students are running the show instead of the teachers. This is insanity. Therefore, I declare that discipline is needed in New Hanover County Schools as it was when I was a student. Children don't need to be mollycoddled. They need to be disciplined. All disrespect must be put to a cease. Like Frederick Douglass so eloquently stated, it is better to raise strong boys than repair broken men. This is the state of American society today. Boys who lack impulse control and behave in an unseemly manner. This must cease. Please bring back discipline. Thank you, and Selah.
Katie Gates.
Good evening, Board. As per previous comments and emails, I want to bring community awareness of the school board's responsibility according to NC State Education Law 115C, which is to develop and implement character education and citizenship in our schools with input from the community. In Article 8, the law states that the instruction shall be implemented into standard curriculum addressing the following 8 traits: courage, good judgment, integrity, kindness, perseverance, respect, responsibility, and self-discipline. In addition, local boards of education are encouraged to include instruction on the following: respect for school personnel, responsibility for school safety, and service to others. My question tonight is, where are you at as a board with monitoring compliance with this law that applies to each classroom in our K-12 schools? I'm requesting a compliance report be compiled as a basis for discussion at a future monthly meeting. I imagine that takes staff and the board time, but we encourage you to start moving forward. Please include highlights and examples from classrooms at different grade levels where it is currently implemented with success. We also want to know where there are gaps in character education within New Hanover County schools and the steps the board will take to remedy gaps in non-compliant areas. Character education, if implemented properly and made creative and fun, could be effective in reducing truancy issues, apathy, burnout, discipline problems, and academic progress. These have been ongoing concerns addressed by the board, the community, and in town halls. I'm sure you'll find the community on both sides of the partisan divide would be willing to lend input as the law suggests. This way, we can ensure our students develop the character traits necessary for sound self-governance, which is essential for civil society and citizenship in our American constitutional republic. Thank you.
Yolanda Hernandez.
Good evening. Did you know that there are 3 sets of guidelines related to out-of-school suspensions in New Hanover County schools? The first one is Policy 4351, short-term suspensions. The policy defines a short-term suspension, states the authority of the principal, outlines the rights of the student, and tells when parents will be notified. It is listed in your policy manual. The second one is the Student Code of Conduct. It includes 6 levels of corrective responses and their definitions, 9 factors that should be considered before a level of response is determined, and 65 inappropriate, disruptive, or dangerous behaviors a student might exhibit in their corresponding level of the offense. A link to it is located on the last page of the student handbook on the homepage of the district website. A third set of guidelines is the school-wide behavior plan for each school. A view of the 25 elementary school websites shows that although the plans are similar in many ways, each one is unique. You can find the plan for most of the schools somewhere on their website. So, who is responsible for making sure all 3 sets of guidelines are aligned? How can we be sure that students' behavior in one school is being helped and supported in the same way in other schools? Ask those questions the next time you address school safety.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes the call to audience. If there's no objection, we will recess for 5 minutes. Is that, Mr. Perry, was there something you needed to?
I know this would take a supermajority, but I would like to motion to amend the agenda since we're doing well on time to allow Mr. McDonald to finish 1 minute to finish his comments.
Point of inquiry, I could not hear.
He's requesting that we allow Mr. McDonald to finish his call to audience in 1 minute.
Slippery slope.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
So there is a motion. Hearing no second, that motion fails. If there is no objection now, we will recess for 5 minutes. All right, board members, back to the dais, please. I mean, it depends on who you want to win.
Hey, Josie, made the rest of your chili. Depends on when we want to go home.
I'm okay with that. I'm never gonna ask for you to scoop on a scoop for me again, though. It's like, just a scoop, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's way more. All right. Continuing on to the next item on the agenda. He's coming.
Slowly.
The transportation update. Dr. Morgan.
Flags with your back. It's hard to move fast with your back.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First time that's worked for me. I hope everybody's
I can
doing
hear
well. You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you. So I know you all have the transportation notes that I shared with you, but I thought I'd kind of hit the highlights because I know not everybody in the audience has that access with them and may not be able to see up here. The good news for transportation is we do have some highlights. I think we're pulling in the right direction and we're making some progress. It's not all glowing, but it is, I think it's better than what others may be experiencing in our region. As of right now, we have 85% of our driver positions are full, so that's 99 out of 116 positions. We've got 17 vacancies. It's not for lack of trying. We've had 8 new drivers hired since July 1, and while that may not seem like a ton, it is not a very quick process from interview to hiring and behind the wheel. It's averages 2 to 3 months, and it really kind of just depends on the availability of the testing. We have 12 candidates in the pipeline, which means they are either in class now or they are awaiting the next road test. The next road test is scheduled for this Friday. We have approximately 4 people who are scheduled to take that test Friday. The next one after that will be in approximately 4 weeks. We've had 13 candidates who have applied but at some point been deemed ineligible, whether they were disqualified, they lost interest, or they failed a background check. How do we compare to other counties, our neighbors to the north and south? We are arguably the highest paying. We are the only county that we're aware of that offers drivers full-time positions. The others offer them part-time. And we do offer a sign-on bonus for $1,000 as well as a referral bonus for $1,000 if those individuals are hired and begin driving for us. We also have a very positive, high pass rate for those who start as aides. So all of our bus drivers, once they begin as aides, and then when they go to take their test, we've got a 99% pass rate for that. So we feel like we've got a good pipeline in place. If we can just get people in and we can get them behind the wheel for the road test, we'll get them through it. Some additional information that may be helpful. Because driver shortage continues to be something that's really kind of beyond our control, despite our fight, we do have 8 non-driver transportation staff who are driving daily. That means they're not hired to be bus drivers, but they do have a CDL, so they hop up and jump behind the wheel of a bus when we need them, which we usually do because we're averaging 5 absences a day from our drivers. And that's not to speak ill of them, that's just because life happens. And so we have absences, and because of that, we also have 4 substitute drivers who report to work for us 3 times a week. Big numbers, we cover 120 runs daily. Roughly 50% of our students are registered or originally assigned at the beginning of the school year. So we have originally assigned 12,000 students at the beginning of the school year. Just under 8,000 of those continue to ride on a regular basis. So K-12 ridership is dipped just slightly below 3%. Is down 2.65%. The number of runs, however, is up slightly at 11%. Total mileage is down 4% since last year, and approximately 35% of our fleet is now equipped with stop arm cameras. Now, just to be clear, 100% of our fleet are equipped with cameras on the bus, but the stop arm cameras, we've got a little over 1/3 of them equipped with it now. So one of the hot topics that Dr. Barnes likes to ask me is about double runs. This gives you just a real quick breakdown of our double runs. In the morning, we have 5 at the elementary schools and 12 at the secondary. In the afternoon, those numbers go up. We have 20 at the elementary schools and 12 at the secondary. If we were fully staffed, and this is Dr. Barnes' favorite question for me. If we were fully staffed, we estimate 90% of our AM double runs could be eliminated and 75% of the PM ones. We don't have a number right now that would eliminate all of them. If we were fully staffed, though, we think we would come pretty close. So Mr. Perry asked last week about routing. One of the things that I mentioned, but I kind of put in paragraph in narrative form here because it's often something that we'll talk about with parents. But we have people who are in the department who work on routing full time. It never really stops. They're continually using mapping technology. They're using feedback from drivers. They're using feedback from our families and even the schools to help improve our routes on a regular basis. We rely on community bus stops within a mile of students' home addresses. And sometimes people don't love where those are located, and so they call and ask us to move them. So we do what we can in situations like that, but we also have to sometimes say no. And it's not because of a lack of interest, but typically what we're trying to do is ensure that because we have a lack of drivers and because we have so many double runs and because we live in a very traffic-heavy community, we are often doing the best we can to make sure that our drivers don't have to turn around, they don't have to backtrack or double back, they don't have to go into neighborhoods that are one way in, one way out. We really are sticking to state-maintained roads, not private communities. We don't have them turning around in cul-de-sacs. So again, a lot of what they're trying to do is an ongoing examination of what are the best routes we've got, how can we improve them. If people drop off ridership and that opens up, so for example, we had 2 students at this one stop, they're no longer riding the bus, that's a stop we can eliminate, we can keep moving on, and that enables us, again, on a regular basis, enables us to create a little bit more efficiency. And then the last thing I think is, I want to give a shout out, I don't know is Lieutenant Olinger in here? He was. Well, he was. I told him I was going to say this anyway. We continue to rely on our partnership with the Sheriff's Department. I called Lieutenant Olinger one day and said, hey, where are you right now? And he said, well, I'm on Blue Clay. And I was out at 6410. So I'm at Veterans, he's at Blue Clay. And I said, well, what are the odds you can meet me at a bus stop sometime today? And he said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. So he was very excited to meet me out there, took pictures. I said, listen, we've got concerns about, families are concerned about the safety of this stop. They would like somebody's opinion in law enforcement. Would you be willing to offer your opinion? And he gave a great response, talking about the safety of the stops, talking about the line of sight, the vision, the stop signs, where they were located, the time of day, the traffic. It was beautiful. And it was a wonderful way to highlight, I think, the partnership that we have with them. I would also like to highlight, although I don't think anybody from DOT is in here at the moment, we also will contact DOT and ask them to check areas that we feel like could benefit from bus signage. So if we have a stop that is around the bend and people complain that oncoming traffic don't realize they're pulling up on a bus stop until it's too late, DOT, if we give them an intersection or an address, they'll go out there, they'll inspect it, they will inspect it for us. And if they need a sign there, they'll go ahead and put one. They don't wait for us to follow up and ask for it, they'll go ahead and put it. And so I think that I just wanted to highlight the fact that we've got a couple of great community partnerships that are helping us ensure the safety and helping us review routes. Even though it's not really their job, they'll help us look at them from those angles.
Ms. Bradford?
I have a couple of questions. I was on a intra-board member from North Carolina and South Carolina call the other day, and they asked, not specifically to us, but they're just gathering information. We don't have any teachers, coaches, or counselors that are driving buses, correct?
Not on bus runs. We occasionally have some classified staff members who will. So, for example, we have had TAs who will also drive buses either in the morning run or the afternoon.
How about students?
No, ma'am.
And the other one you already answered. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Wildebohr? Mr. Wildebohr.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I actually had two questions. Back from my bus driving days. No, I don't.
Were you a student?
No, I was not.
Okay.
Were you a
I
teacher?
wasn't one time. Like, I rode my horse before he says something. But you had mentioned that we're the only ones that have full-time bus drivers, but that does mean that they get benefits, correct? Or does that not mean?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
Yes.
And has the whole situation, so if somebody comes in to be a sub driver, I'm going to sub drive at Holly Shelter, I go there, and I'm not going to go there, but if I went there to do that, I remember back in my day, we just gave them a sheet of paper and here's your bus route, good luck to you, and you're trying to drive and hold the bus route the same, or do we have somebody that actually goes with them and helps them?
No, they have.
GPS?
So we have aides, we have bus aides on some of our buses, not all of them. But they have GPS navigation in the buses.
Oh.
They also have,
Fancy.
to your point, they don't have the piece of paper up, because I even asked about that when we have buses running late and the routes change. And I said, I can remember years ago when I was in charge of buses at a high school, if the route changed, you would have a bus driver pull up and they would have their new bus number in the window and they would hold it up. And I said, I know that makes me seem really old, but is that something we can consider? And they said, well, now they use the Edulog app, and that's real time. And so parents, families, bus drivers, the idea is that it's tracking the bus in real time. They can update the information. So if you're bus 323 normally, but today you're riding 421, it will update in that app automatically.
Oh, great, thank you.
I'm not saying that answers all of our problems at the end of the day, because the students may or may not be checking Edulog, but it is one of the ways that we try to maintain that efficiency.
Gotcha.
Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate this update. This is something that I know that we've been working at, and we would still like to see some more bus drivers that route. I mean, 85% capacity is good, but we're still working towards more, and so I liked how you laid out what we're actively doing. Another change that we did, I guess it was 2 years ago, it used to be the first 2 weeks of school, you had a different bus stop every day, and so have we seen success of being able to have parents sign up before the school year starts? The first 2 weeks of school, we have some consistent bus stops. Have we seen success with that, like transition?
Yes.
Okay.
I won't say it's flawless. I
Okay.
think it's common to see some variability the first couple of weeks. I think that's for a lot of reasons. People, they may be new to our system, they may be new to a particular school, they may be going to a bus stop that's different from their last one. The school may.
But are we seeing that idea has been
yes,
fruitful?
I do think it has been fruitful, and I think it has helped us address issues more quickly when they come up in the first weeks of school.
And then the other change that I know we did, because we do have full-time bus drivers, is having consistent time for our elementary schools and then middle and high schools. Has that also been successful with trying to eliminate some of these double routes and transitions over?
I want to say yes, it's been successful. I wasn't here when I know some of the schools switched their schedule a couple years ago, and I know we have a small county geographically speaking, but because of traffic and because of the number of routes and drivers we have, we'll occasionally have a much more difficult time being that efficient in the northern part of the county. It's just more spread out, and there's also the same amount of traffic. And so, to answer your question, I think every year the conversation comes up with certain schools. Do we want to start 10 minutes earlier? Do we want to keep this time? And I think to some extent we've got to continue to address that on a case-to-case basis. Dr. Barnes, would you agree with that?
Well, just a point of reference too, our funding from the state is based on something called our efficiency rating with buses, which means they track how much gas and miles we drive and compare it to what is the shortest amount that you should have. And then our funding is based on that.
Whoa.
So it is a complex animal to address. I think the hard thing is that because we offer a lot of signature programs, the transportation is even much more complex than that. We have to have some hub stops for families who are going to non-traditional high schools and things like that. So I will tell you that it's a complex solution.
It is. There are a lot of moving parts every single day, but
Move that we add 10 minutes to continue this discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 6-0. Mr. Perry.
Thanks for addressing my questions from last week. Excuse me, my questions from last week. So, obviously, I've seen it myself. You see the buses dropping kids off on College Road or Carolina Beach Road, some very, very busy streets. And obviously, we put our stop signs up on the bus, and people should be stopping, but these are very fast and furious roads. And, and even though they're supposed to stop, there's going to be some people who are impatient, and regardless of whether we find them or not, it still could be a potential danger to our students, which we don't want to see. So you said we don't want to go in the cul-de-sacs and things like that into communities, and we want to try to shorten the ride. And I understand there's also a busing shortage. So my question is say we were at 100%, would we be in a situation where we could maybe get them off College Road or Carolina Beach Road and more dropping kids off on side streets rather than main drags?
I don't think you're going to like my answer. I think it depends. I think it would still depend because of the number of routes that we would have, how that could impact. I feel like it would be the butterfly effect. You would have suddenly 17 more drivers, and it would have this ripple effect across the entire fleet. It very well could be that we would have the opportunity to move stops closer to individuals' homes. But I can't say that for sure without knowing that we've got those positions in place.
Thank you.
Dr. Merrick?
So I heard you say thank you, by the way, for all this. And are you sweating yet? Do we need to put the bright lights on you? Are you okay? Yeah. 5 absences a day, average. How many open positions? I guess I missed that in your presentation.
17.
17. Okay, so 17 plus 5 a day. That's quite a
correct.
That's quite a hit. Then I'll stop there. Thanks.
And Ms. Bradford, and then Ms. Barnhart.
And I'll pick up where he left off, because that's what I was looking at. With 17 vacancies, you got 12 in the pipeline, but then you got to factor in the 5 that are always out sick. But when was the last time we were ever fully staffed, if ever, with bus drivers?
I don't know.
Okay, so
I would have to go back and look.
It's okay. It's okay. I just wondered.
I feel like that's been an issue since time immemorial.
A couple of years ago, we got to single digits, and I remember celebrating that.
Yeah.
And that's the closest we've gotten.
Thank you.
Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you. My last, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer it on the spot right now, but it kind of addresses my colleagues to the right. You said we don't have enough drivers to even consider that. So I see the ideal that we're at 99 of 116, and we're moving forward having that 116 number. What is that number of drivers that we would need to have before we would consider something about, going to more localized streets or houses?
Well,
and if you don't have that number off the top of your head, that's okay, but I'd like to know what that would be at some point.
I think it would be 116.
Okay.
I think we would need to be fully staffed before we could start changing. Because the other thing that I'll say too is, when I say I think we could start looking at possibly moving things closer, I don't necessarily know that we would start going into private neighborhoods. I don't know that we would start going into one way in, one way out. Because the other thing is, I think the routes and the stops that we're creating, we're doing that based on national guidelines and direction and guidance. And so I think sometimes people think, well, they just don't want to go into this neighborhood because they're going to have to turn around. A lot of times it's really much simpler than that. It's no, we're encouraged not to based on national guidelines. And then state guidelines that play into our efforts as well.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate to all our drivers. I think you made statement of a 99% pass rate of the dedication of the people that we're hiring and the frequency. I know that this was something that was brought up as far as testing. They have to test at the same rate of CLD, I'm saying CLD. but-
CDL.
The CDL licensure, so even having prioritization, bus drivers don't have that priority to go ahead and like jump the line to try to meet that need. So we're hopeful after Friday that we'll have 4 new drivers.
Yes.
Dr. Barnes?
We've also been communicating with some folks in the governor's office about looking for ways to provide our own assessor through the DMV. That would help us increase the number of drivers, shorten the time it takes to get drivers across the line. Also, I think, Dr. Morgan, you said something about the butterfly effect. Having more stops would also impact our efficiency rating, which would decrease our funding. So it's sort of a double-edged sword. They expect us to have routes only so far apart. And I know that if we stopped every 100 yards, it would probably get kids closer to their homes, but it would increase the amount of time children were on buses as well, because it would add dramatically to the amount of time that they're riding.
That's a great point. And the one other thing I'll add, since Dr. Barnes mentioned, we've been talking to the governor's office about some ideas. One of the things that is important to keep in mind, we only have 2 DMV certifiers for the 3 counties here. Brunswick, New Hanover, and Pender have 2 people from DMV who certify drivers, and it has to be somebody from DMV to certify our drivers on the road test. So they're stretched thin. I keep saying efficient because of the efficiency rating, but it's not, that process is not as efficient as we would like to see it, and it's really kind of out of our hands as well.
Dr. Merrick?
Can you tell us, is that, you said national guidance, but the efficiency rating comes from the state?
Yes, that comes from the state.
Thank you.
All right. Any other? Thank you, Dr. Morgan.
Thank you.
The next item is pre-K funding. Dr. Burns, that's all you.
Sure. So obviously, we had a conversation this summer regarding concerns about pre-K funding, partially because the county reduced our number of classrooms by 6. So we were able to use carryover Title I money to fund that for this year. And I think the concern that's being brought forth is, okay, what's our long-range plan? So obviously, we want to talk about what pre-K is doing. We're going to talk a little bit tonight about the steps we're trying to put in place to make pre-K more sustainable. And then, of course, as we move forward, this is likely to be something that will come up during our budget conversations throughout the course of the spring as we build our budget for the 26-27 school year. So a couple of things that we've immediately done. We did work to expand our classrooms from 18 to 20 students. And I know initially that the concern is, well, that makes our classrooms overcrowded, and there's concerns in that regard. Sort of yes and sort of no. So let me explain that a little bit. The real key, as I've learned more and more about pre-K funding, which was not something I had to worry about when I was in HR, the key to pre-K funding is being able to qualify children from multiple different funding sources. In other words, they're funded through EC and they're funded through NC Pre-K. So one of the biggest strategies is we had 2 of our schools that our students were only county students there. So that meant that no NC Pre-K could be billed at those schools. So we've asked, how can we certify those 2 schools as being NC Pre-K sites so we can then bill for them with NC Pre-K? That is a longer process than apparently buses are. So that's something we're in the works to. We're also looking at how do we make sure that right now students who are in a special ed classroom spend time in a regular pre-K classroom. Those kids also take up a slot in that room. So if the child is in there for 1 hour a day, or maybe 3 children split the day and each of them goes in for an hour and a half or whatever a day, those kids have to be on both rosters. So by increasing to 18 to 20, we don't really necessarily increase the number of students that are in that class all day. It just allows us to bill both NC Pre-K and EC for those students. So that's one thing that we've done. The second thing we've done is limit the amount of 3-year-olds that we are accepting. 3-year-olds cannot be billed through NC Pre-K, only 4-year-olds can. So as much as we want to have a multi-year pre-K, having the choice to have these programs the way we have them, zeroing in on 4-year-olds whenever possible is going to maximize those funding streams. So those are some of the things that we are looking to do right now to make things more cost sustainable. Right now, we get billed every month. We bill every month and get money back from NC Pre-K, so we've only had a few months of doing this. So it's not ready for assess how much good that has done us, but we're hoping that it's going to be able to stretch those dollars. Now, Ms. Sutton, did I miss anything, or do you have anything to add? I nailed it, didn't I? So I think the bigger concern is, and I went to Howe Pre-K a couple of weeks ago and sat down with them to do my listening tour, and either tomorrow or next week, I'm also going to Johnson to talk with them. I think as a county, there is the concern and the question about how do we make pre-K sustainable. I do think that there is a challenge because pre-K is not funded in the same way that the state funds our K-12 education. And the number of slots that we have, one of the biggest challenges we have is that we get less money for our sites than standalone pre-Ks that aren't school funded yet. So there's a certain reimbursement ratio that students that are in the school system get and a different one that they are a private site. Part of that is because they naturally assume, generally, that pre-Ks are tied into their own elementary school, not as standalone programs. But a lot of us see a benefit in those standalone programs as well. However, they are not as cost effective as being inside schools would be. However, there are also a lot of requirements to having pre-K in an elementary school, and some of our buildings aren't equipped for that either. So I think these are long questions that we have to talk about as more of a global structure as a part of our budget process. One question is, okay, do we take money away from earmark more money from Title I away from our other schools to fully fund pre-K? But that is a cost. We are trading one thing for another when we do. So that's sort of an update, and I'll answer any questions that there are.
Ms. Bradford?
Right off the bat, do you know when New Hanover County started having pre-K? And if so, how? And when it was, how they funded it? Back in the day, when was that, and how was it funded?
Do you want to take that one? I have absolutely no idea. I'll have to research that. I'm sorry, I didn't go that far back.
I mean, we know with the pandemic, and we know what happened there, but
Right.
what about before that? What were we doing?
I will have to look at that and find out.
Ms. Barnhart?
But also, don't forget, I'm sorry,
You're fine.
at one point, we did have the Head Start grant,
Yes.
which made a
We're getting it back.
significant difference in these funding these funding concerns, because that was $5 million a year we are no longer have access to.
We're getting it back.
Go ahead, Ms. Barnhart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You brought up a couple interesting points because you said that currently we are serving 4-year-olds because that's what NC Pre-K is covered. And so when we've had discussions with the endowment, we're not allowed to supplant what we currently do, which means 3-year-olds is not currently funded by NC Pre-K, is what I gathered from your conversation. So
That is a
that's an
correct statement.
opportunity that we could approach the endowment specifically for 3-year-old targets. I think what we've seen in the county is we've taken the NC Pre-K standards and we are servicing all of the children who classify as an at-risk TIC, which is super important in helping close the gap for kindergarten. And so we could do that same metric and apply that to 3-year-olds, because if we're trying to be intentional about closing the gap so that more of our children are successful, I think that's a good opportunity to look there. And I'm grateful that you also said we're looking at cross-coding. I know that was a small change in the MOU with the county that we said, let's make this change. Why do you have to name these specific schools? Because giving us the flexibility of where we locate them allows us to optimize that funding. So I would be interested to, before applications open, which I think we still have a couple months runway before applications open, I would like for the district to know the number of spots that we are able to serve, so we do not accidentally accept more students than we have the capacity of serving. So I don't know what that number is, and I'm not asking that you have it tonight, but prior to applications opening, I think that we should be well informed of that number.
I think that we will, but that will also be a budget question because I think the answer to that is predicated on how much money do we want to supplement to get them there. So I think that'll be a multi-pronged issue. Does that make sense?
Mr. Wildebohr.
And you mentioned before about the, trying to expand to different schools and stuff. But there are certain, at least there were back when I was principal, we actually had certain schools or certain parameters that like the classrooms had to have, playgrounds had to have. And that's still part of the equation, is that correct?
Yeah. Some of the larger scale issues are specific playgrounds, exterior doors. They don't necessarily have to have a bathroom within the room, but they need to have a sink and running water. The bathroom is what allows you to maintain the strict ratio of student to adult, because if the bathroom is in the room with you, you don't have to separate the adult to take the child to the bathroom. So that's not as much of a requirement as much as it is a logistical nightmare if you don't, if that makes sense.
Mr. Perry?
You mentioned something about the certification for the NTBK and that it's maybe a little bit harder than you had hoped. And do you have any estimate on how long that's going to take?
It's in a rotation. I've asked our folks to look and see if we can jump the line, but last I heard was somewhere in 2027, I think is what it was.
Wow.
And that is to certify rooms that we already have pre-K students in, but to make them not just county sites, but also into pre-K billable sites, if that makes sense. So they meet the requirements, but someone has to come out and do all the stuff.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next item. Nope. I'm so sorry, Dr.
I thought I was in the queue a long time ago, sorry.
I'm so sorry,
That's
Dr.
quite all
Merrick. Go
right.
ahead.
I appreciate that. No. First of all, to address my colleague down the way here, from what I understand, we were talking about moving most of Howe into Johnson. And I think there's about 150, 180 at Howe right now. So there's quite a lot of room at Johnson if we had the funding. From what I've done in terms of research, I believe there's 334 people on the waiting list to get in. And those are ones that are qualified in terms of, economics and everything else.
That's 3 and 4.
Yeah.
That's 3 and 4 years. Yeah.
So it seems to me that we have need.
Yes.
And it seems to me we have space.
Yes.
What we don't have is the dinero.
Correct.
So.
Something I'm learning a lot about after a year and a half.
Well, you and I were in that meeting. That was a lot to ingest, yeah. But we know the facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up to 44% higher graduation rates for kids who have been through pre-K. I mean, that's huge because that's one of our 3 majors as graduation rates, right? We talk about third grade reading, we talk about Math 1, and all of these things are going to be improved with our pre-K. Mm-hmm. And I know that we are, I guess, required to service IEPs in pre-K, but not every child. Like we are K to 12, generally speaking, in terms of what we are mandated to take care of.
The state DPI funding is K-12.
Exactly.
And of course, 3-year-old starts when we can support IEP services for students.
But when we talk about wanting to bring up third grade reading, Math 1, and graduation rates, this is clearly, a path, a proven path forward. The endowment has several pillars, education being the first one listed. And the first thing listed under that pillar is pre-K. And so I appreciate my colleagues' responses about, I know it's a policy of the endowment not to pay for something that the government should be paying for. But when this is this high on their list, it seems to me that we need to be having, this is an important push. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see, hand over to our superintendent and your staff to be able to say, can you bring us something in January in terms of routes to the endowment? Routes, you've given us an update, but it's full of we don't really know. Like, how do we get a blue ribbon commission to go out and come up with, I don't want to just hear we don't know. It's not your fault that we don't know. But I want to put together a committee to say, let's handle this. This is really important. Let's figure out what we need to do with the endowment. Let's start our meetings now.
Okay.
And I don't know if I need to make a motion. I think we're all on the same page. We want to see this happen. Would you be willing to come back in January with a report on plans with the endowment?
I think that'll be a part of, that will be a part of our budget process anyway. I'm meeting with the endowment on a regular basis. I can certainly talk with them, and we've all been in contact with the endowment to say, okay, what's next on the list? Certainly pre-K has been one we have floated before. So if that's, I think that give me a month or two to have those conversations with the endowment. I can certainly give you guys an update whenever you so require.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ms. Barnhart?
My last kind of follow-up piggyback of what my colleague is saying, I would like to extend that to say all of the endowment of whatever we're going to ask for this year, it would be nice to know that so we can help in that advocacy realm. So if it's pre-K with specifically a 3-year-old focus, because we think that's going to be the most impactful and the less likely to cross over that barrier of supplanting, that makes sense to me logically. But I think all of the things, whatever gets asked in the endowment, the earlier the better, because we've expressed to them, I know I have in conversation of just understanding that if we don't know until after our school year starts, the budget cycle, it makes it really difficult to fulfill and be effective with whatever asks we have. So I agree that this would be on my tick list of desires for us to consider as a district to go to the endowment and ask for.
Yeah, Mr. Perry.
I have a different thought on the endowment and my personal, and our funding from them. I personally think it would be more responsible for the endowment to help us out with more of the capital needs. There is something that we can show for, because we spend the money and then it's gone, and then we have to ask for more. But if you were to spend the money on putting that extra classroom stuff at our elementary school so that we could have some pre-K classrooms, I think that that's a better investment for the endowment to be investing into something that we have. And that's my only thought on it. And I'm with my colleague down there. Perhaps we do need a small ad hoc committee to talk about this over the next few months so that we have something that we can, because we definitely do. We need a long-term plan, and it's not really all that, and it's not that far away that we need it. So it's a kind of a short-term plan, but you know what I mean. So I'm not opposed to that, but I just wanted to bring that up. So
We are at time.
Can I move to add 5 minutes to the discussion?
As long as you get a second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Ms. Bradford?
You don't get to talk first. It would be helpful, I think, if we had some sort of workshop situation already planned and we could put the endowment on there. And maybe the endowment could come and tell us what we can actually ask for, when we can ask for it, how we can ask for it. I was talking to, I think, a parent from Rachel Freeman last week, and she was saying that their school put in for an endowment grant for landscaping, like all the schools did, and they didn't get it. And I didn't know that schools put in for an endowment grants on their own. And you're not nodding, so it doesn't, maybe the parent or teacher told it to me wrong. But, there's a lot of mystery about what you can get, when you can get it, how you can get it, and how many things you can get per year. So I know you have your priorities of what you want to ask for, and then if we as a board have our priority lists, we may conflict with you. And so I just would like some demystification of this whole endowment, because when in doubt, hey, let's get it from the endowment, and we don't.
I think that the endowment does a series of mini grants as well. Mm-hmm. So does the landfall, so does, there's several that are out there. I think without, maybe I'm wrong, but first off, I won't have priorities that are different from the board's priorities. I'll bring you my suggestions and recommendations, and what you guys decide is what we do. However, I think we might not want to put this many cooks in the kitchen right away. If I can have the chance to meet with the endowment with my team and get sort of a game plan, I can certainly come back to you and say, here's what the overall scope looks like. Does that make sense?
All right. Dr. Merrick.
Just so that we can kind of get the whole timeline down, by when do parents need to apply for pre-K? Where in the year do they need to apply for the next school year?
Usually happens about February, correct? It's either late February or early March.
When do parents apply for their children's pre-K? What time of the year?
Well, yeah, that's correct.
February?
Start in February, opening that up, and usually in the spring, late spring, we start sending out the letters of acceptance.
But we usually hold off a little bit to send out the letters until we know how much funding we have. So it sort of keeps neck and neck with our budget process.
So, but in terms of if we need to have some answers by February, maybe me saying, hey, can we get an answer by January? That's kind of pushing it, right? Maybe we need answers a little bit sooner.
Well, again, they apply. They may not get their answer immediately right away if they're involved, because we have to look at the number of slots we can afford.
Gotcha.
And so then, so you apply in February, you don't find out until spring.
Okay, that does make more sense. And I know that the Turnaround Task Force put out a survey to find out how many parents who were qualified were actually applying. And we found out that parents had a difficult time getting through the application process and were giving up and quitting. So, when I said before we have 334 on the waiting list, I think that there's even more parents that actually want their kids. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Next item is girls wrestling, and that is Miss Barnum.
Hi, good evening. So I'm here to provide you with an update on women's wrestling. And I conveniently did bring our district athletic director, Aaron Livengood, with me. He's over here, should we have any questions pertinent to his role. But I don't know if you, Ms. Barnhart, if you wanted to start with your question or if you want me just to provide a bit of an update and see what I miss.
I'm happy to. The whole point of this agenda item was to ensure the board last cycle, or actually it wasn't actually in the budget cycle, we approved Laney High School to have a women's wrestling team. And so the conversation is to allow for all of our high school girls across the district to have an opportunity for women's wrestling and to ensure that we as a district have funding for all the schools to have a team that obviously that want one. If there's not desire to participate, I understand. But if specifically at the Fort Wayne High School, so if you could speak to that.
Yes. All 4 of our traditional high schools have the opportunity to access the coaching stipend and equipment purchases for separate women's and men's wrestling programs. But due to limited student interest, 2 out of 4 of our schools chose to continue to operate as co-ed programs with only 1 head coach. But they do have the opportunity to separate those teams into a women's team and a men's team. And I think prior there was also a question about how the schools are engaging in those interest sessions, how they are trying to engage our female students to participate in women's wrestling, and they're all doing some very similar things. We've got interest meetings happening. They're recruiting among their student body athletes from other sports, other season sports, sign-up sheets during lunch, recruiting from body conditioning class. So really doing some of the same things. It's just that there's a really strong really strong wrestling culture at Laney, and so that has also allowed for a really strong women's wrestling culture.
Mr. Perry?
This is information that I've been told, so you can verify or not verify. But is it true that our women's team, wrestling team at Laney does not have a separate budget for their team and that they share the budget with the men's team?
So all of our athletic programs in our high schools get a budget assigned to them. So the amount of funding per traditional high school is the same in the athletic program. So they have the opportunity to use their budget to provide for that separate team, but the coaching stipend is something separate. So equipment purchases would come through their athletic budget. That is a whole size budget that's the same for every traditional high school, but we do provide this separate coaching stipends from the district level.
My understanding was more on transportation. From what I've been told is that, basically the men's and the women's teams at Laney are pretty much forced to go to these same events because that there's been cases where the women's team would have rather have gone to a different tournament that would have been better for the woman, but could not come up with the money for transportation to that tournament because they didn't have their own separate budget. Can you speak to that?
Right, so no teams have their separate budgets. The school team, the school program has one budget. And so that's really managed by the athletic director at each school, but there's no a different amount of money that would come to a traditional high school based on that separate team. So I'm not sure, I don't know that I'm answering your question though.
Would that be the case in our other sports, say men's and women's basketball?
That is the same for all athletic programs, yes, in all of our traditional high schools. So, but I don't have the women's and the men's wrestling schedules in front of me to be able to answer the question, but my understanding is that they do have some similar matches and competitions on their schedule, but they also have separate matches and competitions that they go to because they're not one team. They're not a co-ed team. They're separate teams.
And I'll look for that. I do know that I did an investigation in coordination with our team about that specific question. I did email those results of the investigation to you guys. I will try to put it at the top of your inbox because I know it was a while ago.
Mr. Wildemore?
Yeah, I just wanted to know, because I remember back in my wrestling days, I think it was like 0-35, but I tried real hard.
Is that 1935?
What I tell you, it's good tonight, yeah.
Were these the same days as bus driving days or different
It was all the same thing. I did it all together.
Right. Just checking, asking for a friend.
I remember like a lot of times you would have, some of our smaller high schools might, not have every weight class. They might have 3 or 4, weight classes that they forfeited because they just didn't. So where do we get to the point where women's wrestling is to the point where we say we need a separate team? Is it 10 athletes? Is it 15 athletes? Is it every weight class? What is it?
So not necessarily every weight class, and this is probably where I need to phone a friend and bring Mr. Livengood up so he can correct me when I'm wrong.
Okay.
But we have been asking the question of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association about how many athletes does it take to make a women's wrestling team, and we have gotten the number of, was it 7 or 8? It was the number of 7, but we also understand that maybe another school district got a different number, so we're trying to verify that.
Okay.
Do you want to answer that on the numbers? Because it's a different number for men's.
Yeah, would you mind just repeating the question one more time?
Well, basically, how many female athletes would you need on a wrestling team to have a separate wrestling team? I mean, and I do know that you might have 4 ladies in the same weight class, which would be problematic. But I mean, how many?
Right, and that's the question we're trying to get the association to give us an answer, so we're not getting multiple answers within our conference. Another school within our conference was provided a different answer. Bottom line is, if there are females or if there are women wrestlers that have an interest, they're going to be provided that opportunity. Now, when they go and wrestle another team, if there's not another female in that weight class, obviously they don't participate that night. But we are trying to get an answer from the association.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Livengood. My biggest concern is, as we navigate this, one, we know that college scholarships are real. And so when you're an athlete and a female athlete, to get one of those, it's a life-changing experience to be able to go to college on scholarship. And so as we provide these opportunities. I want to make sure that we as a district are doing so with fidelity. I don't want to find us in a Title IX concern or complaint arena. So as we are trying to build up this program and support our female athletes, which we know is going to allow them a great opportunity as they go on to college, that's where my concern is coming from. So it sounds like we need to get a little bit more clarification, and as we continue to grow this program, making sure that we're investing in it in a way that is going to be honoring to these athletes who are competing.
Yes, ma'am, and I will also add that, we can't really control what other conference teams have and what they don't have, but I do know our coaches are working when it comes to non-conference and weekend tournaments. They're working to provide tournaments to the men and women.
Dr. Merrick?
Thank you. My colleague just asked most of the question that I was going to be asking, but I guess I'm a little concerned. I am in no way insinuating anything here, but when we have a total school budget that then has to get divvied up between different programs, it doesn't take much imagination to be able to say, well, for some reason we're going to value football over soccer, or we're going to value men's football over women's soccer, or whatever. It does make it difficult to be in compliance with Title IX. And I don't want to cause a stink, but I also don't want the women to not to get the opportunity to, be invested in. Do you hear what I'm saying?
So I want to refer back to what Dr. Barnes mentioned a while ago of an internal investigation that that addressed some of these concerns to ensure that we are not only compliant with Title IX, but compliant with our own processes for providing resources for all of our programs, women, men, whether it's a co-ed program and they have what they need, whether it's separate teams and they have what they need. So I would suggest referring back to that he's going to drop back at the top of your inbox.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you both.
All right. Thank you.
Did you want to respond to that, Dr. Barnes? I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
He's sending it. He's going and doing it right now. Which may be challenging because the next item on the agenda is the CSI grant.
Which I
have delegated.
That's why he's here.
To Mr. Worthington.
Are we going to be on TV? CSI?
Yeah, CSI, absolutely. It means something very different than it does on CBS. So CSI stands for Comprehensive School Improvement. Every 3 years, the state takes a look at several different data points to determine schools that would be labeled CSI or TSI. TSI is Targeted School Improvement. CSI schools are given that designation based on a number of factors. Those factors can include overall school data in terms of proficiency and growth, targeted like subgroup data. In a high school, it might be graduation rate. And as well, we also look at long-term progress towards long-term goals. And those long-term goals are 10 years in the making. So once all that data is collected, the state decides which schools are going to be designated as schools that receive CSI grant, or in some places you may hear it referred to as the CSI improvement grant. Sometimes it's also referred to as a CSI incentive grant. But either way, what happens after that is that the schools are provided with this information. In particular, the district is provided with that information. And then we have to determine how are we going to spend those funds. So we've got 3 schools this year that are going to be receiving funds for the next 3 years. Those schools are Freeman, Forest Hills, and Williston. Those 3 schools will be receiving this fund, and unless we found out something this afternoon, we actually don't know how much money it is. We kind of have a ballpark based on some of the things that we've had in the past, but we don't know what that number is now. We'll receive that information later. The state added 50 new schools to CSI, and so we anticipate that it's probably going to be a little bit less than what we've received in the past. However, one of the questions that was asked, and really the reason I'm here for the next 3 minutes, is to tell you what has worked, what have we seen that's worked well in the past, and what has not worked well. I kind of label it in two different ways. My wife will tell you when it comes to plumbing, electric, woodworking, I am functional, not necessarily ornamental. I can make just about anything work, but it's not necessarily going to be pretty when it's done. And so there are some things that we can do that are very ornamental. They are flashy, they look great, they sound good, they look good in the public. They don't necessarily bring in the results that we want to. So some of those things that we found might be a little bit of a flash in the pan, but not really there for long-term success. Instructional software. This is something that sounds great. We're bringing in a new product to the school, but it doesn't necessarily always do great when it comes to academic performance and instruction and improvement. It's more facilitated instruction and not necessarily performance-directed instruction. The other thing is instructional materials, and one of the reasons we don't need to do that is because our district has already worked very hard to come up with some great ideas and some great plans and some great materials that we already contract with. Our schools are already devoted to using those. We've got new STOIC frameworks that we're creating for places like third grade reading, for 8th grade and Math 1. We are already working in some of those things, and so we're kind of committed to let's use the resources we have instead of spending money on things that may just replicate. So what does work? We think about the 4 terms for significance, and those 4 terms are necessary, reasonable, supplemental, and the big one for me is sustainable. Those are the 4 things we're looking for when we are considering what should we spend this money on. I've been talking to the principals, and I've talked to Dr. Barnes, talked to Dr. Hamilton, talked to Ms. Sutton, I've talked to Lisa Wolf, I've talked to myself sometimes on the way into work. What's the best place? What is the thing that we've seen that has the most results? And it is really simple. It's our people. The money that is there always comes with caveats, but one of the main things is you can use this money to support the people that are in the building. Having been a principal at some more challenging places before, I can tell you, you guys have visited and seen it multiple times. There are no harder working folks than the ones that you'll see in our schools. And in particular, the challenges that they overcome every day at Freeman, at Williston, at Forest Hills are incredible. So to that end, what we want to do is push back towards those individuals to support them in a couple of ways. One, the principals have talked a lot about the bonuses tied to incentives for growing students, for getting students over the hump, for getting students to be first past the pole, if you will, in terms of reaching marks that we want them to get to in terms of that long-term progress. And then the second is how can we infuse good coaching and learning so that we can build capacity, especially for our beginning teachers, teachers who are new into the building, teachers who are working on something different that is unique for them. And so coaching and support that builds up the skill, and then infusing money that helps drive people to our schools through recruitment and retention, but primarily through getting our students to progress as well. So once we begin developing this and once we find out how much money is going to be coming to our schools, we're really going to be focusing on our staff, our teachers, our custodians, our bus drivers, our assistant principals, every person that we can get to come in to support an enhancement towards learning. That's what we're going to be focusing on with these funds.
Oh, goodness, we are actually at time. So I move that we extend time for 10 minutes.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I'd say 5 too.
There's 3 people that that want to speak, so 5 minutes is not going to probably be sufficient. So, all right, all those in favor? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 6-0. I don't even know who was first. There was you and you and you. So let's go with Dr. Merrick first.
Oh, gosh, I'm so honored. Thank you. It's because you're doctorate. I like this idea of flashy versus, functional. Mm-hmm. Every time I've talked to an educator and we say, crystal ball, you can name something that you want. What do you want? And every time the answer comes down to some variation of a theme that says, we just need more adults in our schools. And so when I think of coaches, I love the idea. Do you have any data on just what teachers' aides provide, what teachers' aides will provide for the teachers, right? Because they just need help.
Sure.
And the coaches are great, especially for like the young teachers, right? But I don't know the difference in cost between coaches and aides. My guess is aides are cheaper. We could get more adults in the building, and that's ultimately what I want to see is more adults in the building.
Absolutely. So I'll tell, one of the things we talk to our principals about often is the comparison between your priority inventory and your time inventory. So you think about the things that you want to spend your time on, and then you look at the things that you're actually spending your time on, and ask yourself if they align. In a lot of cases, they don't align, but it's not because we don't want them to. It's because we're putting out fires that occur that we weren't anticipating were going to happen at 7:45 in the morning that pop off at 8:15. And so those things pull us away. In a classroom, a teacher is there, they've got a great lesson, they have learned exactly what they want to teach, they are ready for high-level execution in the classroom, and something happens that throws them off that may require a lot of time. And when that happens, we always say, man, if I just had one more person. It's 100% believe that is something that we should be taking a look at in terms of can we bring more people into the building. One of the things that the grant itself talks a lot about is not hiring someone that we wouldn't be able to sustain after the 3 years are over. So once the 3-year money is gone, are we able to continue hiring that person? If we can say yes and show that we can commit to that, then that's okay. If we can't say that, then we need to use that money more towards the coaching side so that we can develop capacity for the people that will always be in that building 4, 5, 6 years down the road.
Got it. So that the coach actually produces something that will outlive the grant.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Thank you.
Mr. Wildebohr.
Well, Dr. Merrick, you took all, I was going to say the same thing. I was, really talking about teacher assistants, because those folks can really help. What about the idea of even maybe a tutor? You could hire them for the 3-year period with that understanding that at the end of the 3 years, you may not be here anymore, and they could do small group pullouts.
So that is actually something that's mentioned in the grant as an option. It's related to interventionists and tutors that can help schools and help, in particular, individual student groups close that achievement gap. We saw that work. Actually, we saw both of these things work at Forest Hills when we brought in coaches for math and we brought in interventionists for math. Forest Hills just received an award from the state for closing the achievement gap in their building. And so that's one of the reasons why we're kind of excited about this grant, because it allows us to continue some of those things that we've seen work, and some of those things that didn't work, we can kind of move in the right direction.
Good. Thank you.
Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you. I appreciate this discussion so much because one of the things when I was checking in about, I knew we had 2 schools that received this CSI grant, so now we have 3. So it's not good that 3 of our schools met that criteria, right? But it is good that we're allowing to have intentional targeted focus to close the gap, because that's what we want for all of our students. And right. I mean, and I'm glad that you gave Forest Hills a shout out. We saw that achievement gap just closing and getting better and better for all the students there. So I love hearing this. I love seeing this. And I think there's we have to let our staff and you guys run with what's needed and that flexibility of that. I'm just grateful that we're able to continue to help support. And I see in just my initial talk, I know you said incentive bonuses and infusing coaching and learning, and I wrote down to build the stamina and maintain staff there. And so
that's a great word for it. Yes, ma'am.
And if you're looking at, a dollar amount that you can do, if saying all these schools get Title I funding. So when we're looking about long-term sustainability, I know some of our schools have advanced teacher roles and they adopted a co-teaching model. And so that might be something that we're interested to kind of mimic and mirror at these schools. I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. But we're seeing a lot of success with these programs, and the programs that we see success with, we need to be replicating in our district. So give a shout out to those people who are working and doing it. We appreciate it. I just going to give my 2 cents and just grateful that we're getting 3. So.
Well, actually, since you said that, one of the principals that I spoke to today talked about the ATR grant and how we might be able to use that from CSI funding. So in the ATR pathway that we currently have, we have to take a teacher out of the classroom to put them into that coaching position. Now, on the face of it, it's a logistical issue in trying to overcome that challenge with classroom capacity. But what we have seen at places like Wrightsboro, we just saw their ATR here tonight, it's very effective. And so because that has been effective, one of the principals in the school said, hey, I might be able to use that CSI grant to maybe supplement, not supplant, but supplement the opportunity to bring a coach in and not necessarily have to lose a teaching position in the classroom. So now I'm bringing more coaches into my building to support. So that you were right on it. That's something that I just spoke to someone about at 4 p.m. today.
Thank you, Mr. Worthington. Next.
Oh, yeah, much.
I see why you delegated.
Right? Much younger.
Next item on the agenda is consensus items. I know that there was last week some requests to remove F so that we could have a little bit more discussion on that, and so that Dr. Hamilton could give us a little bit more information on that. Dr. Merritt?
Yes, I would move that we take the 2026-2027 traditional calendar off the consensus items.
And then approve the rest.
Well, we don't have to take it off, but we can pull it, separate
pull it
it.
aside, and then
We
I
can
move
separate,
that
you don't
we,
have to move for that, but we can separate that, yeah.
And I move that we approve the rest.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Perry?
I move that we pull C.
Okay. There's no need to move on that one. So, so we're pulling C and F, and there is a motion to approve the remaining, which would be A, B, D, and E. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 6-0. I'm going to go alphabetical. So, Mr. Perry, you wanted to pull C, which is the MOU with 100 Black Men of Coastal North Carolina.
I've read through the MOU. At least from what I've read, it seems what exactly they're going to be doing is not well spelled out within the MOU. Obviously, they're here to help our students that are maybe perhaps at risk. But, you know, I need more information before I can do this. I mean, if you look up this organization's website, I mean, it says it is a group of African-American men dedicated to improving the quality of life for African-Americans in southeastern North Carolina. I mean, I want to help all of our at-risk kids, regardless of the color of their skin. So if we got kids who are Latino, we got kids who are white but poor, you know, I want to make sure they're all covered here. So I need a little bit more information here as to what exactly they're going to be doing here, because I want to make sure that all of our at-risk kids are going to get the same kind of services here. So,
Ms. Bradford?
Interestingly enough, I had a conversation with a parent from Holly Tree yesterday who was also played football, and his son and his grandson were, we had the grandparents talking college football players in the family conversation. And I don't know, we got around to coaching, and I asked him, I said, we have an MOU, the 100 Black Men, do you have any experience with them? Anyway, and his comments were very favorable. I didn't know anything, and I have not dropped a dime on looking them up. But my comment would be that anytime we can get adults in the building, we've talked before, adults in the building, and anytime we can get more men into the building to be role models for our boys and girls is a good thing. And so I'm in favor of it, based on just that little bit of conversation I had yesterday. And he said there was absolutely nothing that he had experience with it, nothing that he could say negative. And I believe this is the first time we've ever done this, right? This is brand new? No, we've always done it?
It's a renewal MOU.
It's renewal, okay. So, how long have we been doing it then?
Been several years,
Okay,
3 or 4, if I remember right.
so I'm going to vote in favor.
Okay, Ms. Barnhart?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to bring up, I think this was a longer discussion, probably over a year ago now, of ensuring that any MOU that we have with an outside entity, any of the services that they provide or programs that they offer have to align with the schools themselves. They can't just come in and say, this is what I want to do, and the school says, actually, that's really not going to be beneficial. They're not allowed to do that. And so I understand the hesitancy of the vagueness, but at the same time, it's my understanding, and I'd love for staff to weigh in on this, is when we have MOUs with individuals that allow for mentorships or partnerships in some way, shape, or form, that the schools are guiding what those programs are and not this organization coming in and doing whatever they want. So if you could just speak to that. Dr. Barnes?
I will say that our staff won't bring anything to consensus that we haven't, that they didn't feel comfortable with.
Dr. Merrick?
I think sometimes we really get ourselves in trouble when we try to say that every single one of our children are exactly the same, and we're going to treat them all exactly the same. There are cultural differences that not only do we need to recognize, I think we need to honor. And when we see where some of our achievement gaps are, and we see some of the kids that are potentially falling through the cracks, and we have mentorship that can come in with a cultural understanding to support those kids and give them what they need, man, oh man, I'm going to fight for that 100%. So yes, I'm going to vote for this as well.
Ms. Bradford, wait, hold on. I think both of you had an opportunity to speak already, correct? So I'm going to go with Ms. Bradford, and then I'll come to you.
Mine's just procedural. When these go on to the agenda, if we could have the little R that means it's renewal, or spell out the word renewal, I think we talked about that. Thank you. When we put these on the agenda, I think we talked about several months back that we would put the word renewal there.
That's on me.
And it's not, if we could do it, then I wouldn't have had to ask that question and take it up half a minute. So that'd be great.
Mr. Perry?
So this is just, if you can just answer this very specifically, since this is a renewal, up until now or whatever, is this organization only serving our black students, or are they serving all kinds of students regardless of the color of their skin or ethnicity? Can we answer that definitively, Dr. Barnes?
Go ahead, sir.
I don't want to be incorrect, but I believe it is for our African-American youth. I will verify that to make sure I'm not wrong.
All right, so that is C. Let's do F, and then we can vote on both of them. Or do we want to keep them separate?
Separate.
I move that we approve the MOU with 100 Black Men of Coastal North Carolina.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
That passes 5-1. Next is the traditional calendar. Dr. Hamilton, you had a presentation. I can tell her to come up, right?
I think you've got that authority. She doesn't. Oh, she doesn't.
Good evening. So I just want to talk a little about the calendar process, the committee, and sort of bring awareness to the calendar law that we are required to follow and the parameters that puts around creation of school calendars. So the purpose of the calendar committee is to, of course, create the school system's calendars. We do solicit input from staff, parents, students, and the community based on information gathered from the state guidelines. The committee then generates a draft calendar to present to you for approval. What we have brought to you tonight is the recommendation that the calendar committee created. Then, of course, it's just a recommendation, and you as a board decide if that's what you would like to do. The committee has 2 school board members, has at least one representative from senior leadership, central office staff, teachers, principals, parents, students. So we had 37 members on the calendar committee, and it was reflective of all those required stakeholders. The committee met on September 24th and again on October 22nd. 85% of the calendar committee members agreed with our option B that was presented at the October 22nd meeting. Therefore, the calendar committee would bring calendar B to you today for the primary recommendation for your consideration. So here are just a few overviews of the calendar committee, of the calendar law, the state calendar law requirements. That you have to have at least 185 student attendance days or a minimum of 1,025 instructional hours covering at least 9 months. That the school shall adopt a calendar of 215 days, which falls within the fiscal year, so that's instructional days, holidays, annual leave days, everything. 10 of those days have to be annual vacation leave days for staff. The number of legal holidays occurring within the school calendar is designated by the State Human Resource Commission for state employees, and that must include Veterans Day. You have to designate at least 2 days on which teachers can take accumulated vacation leave. So those would be non-designated work days or undesignated work days. The total of working days for teachers, and that would include work days, cannot exceed 195. The remaining days are scheduled as teacher work days, additional instructional days, or for other lawful purposes. The school calendar does not specify a minimum number of teacher work days. The opening date for students shall be no earlier than the Monday closest to August 26, and the closing date shall be no later than the Friday closest to June 11. So you have to figure out when those days are. You have to look at that 215, and you choose whenever your first work day would be, and you count 215 all 5 days a week with the exception of weekends. So the school calendar shall include a plan for making up instructional days or hours that are missed due to inclement weather. And the summer calendar, so the summer break, has to be at least 42 consecutive days. So just sort of summing up some non-negotiables from there, you're supposed to have 185 days or a minimum of 1,025 instructional hours. We here in New Hanover County Schools do follow the calendar law requirements. So with the start and end dates, the earliest possible start date for us for the 26-27 school year is Monday, August 24, and the latest possible day is Friday, June 11. So you shall have 215 days. So if your first work day is Friday, August 14, then the last day the teachers can work is Thursday, June 10, and you can keep on doing the math however you want to do it there. If the first work day is Thursday the 13th, then the last day is June 9, is 215 days. We have to give teachers those 10 annual vacation leave days, and those cannot be work days. Those have to be annual vacation leave. So if, and this is how we typically do, you have December 22, 23, 29, 30, and 31 over the winter break, and the 5 days at spring break, that provides for those 10 days. The legal holidays that are designated by that state commission are marked on the calendar, and oddly, this year Memorial Day is on May 31st. I think typically it's like May 25, May 26, whatever. Well, this year is May 31, and as a result, that's going to really throw with when we have to start on the Monday, not by the Friday, and all that. That really is going to make, probably when we started looking at the calendar, knowing that Monday, May 31st, which will be a holiday, is probably also the first day of the last week of school. So that's not the best scenario. However, that's just the way it turned out for the 26-27 school year. So you have to have 2 days in which teachers can take annual leave, and that's easily met with our work days before and after school. Their work days cannot exceed 195 days. So if we plan for 215 days, which we must, you subtract out 10 annual vacation days and 11 holidays, then we have met that requirement that teachers will not be working more than 195 days. plan for makeup days, 42 days in your summer break. And we also, you're really, getting in 185 days is almost next to impossible. So most people really go with that 10-25 rule for the hours. And so we have to go into Infinite Campus and get the actual minutes each day that are dedicated to instruction at each school. You can't count lunch, you can't count recess, things like that. So instructional minutes. So our school, we have 3 schools that have 360 instructional minutes a day. And so we have to go with that lowest number when calculating what equates to 1025 for us. So because we have to use that 360, if we had 171 instructional days times 6 hours a day, that is only 1026. So that gets us in with the skin of our teeth and no wiggle room for any kind of inclement weather or any other thing that may occur. So therefore, under no circumstances could we have more than 171 instructional days on our school calendar, which would leave no room at all for inclement weather or any other reason that we would have to have school closure. Some input that we had from our stakeholders was that teachers really desired to have a week, at least a week of work days prior to day one. It was really an overarching theme of our committee that we wanted to have as many student attendance days as possible within that framework of 215 days. First of all, that's our job, is to have children and teach children and to take care of them while they're in our care. And we have that limited amount of time based on the calendar law that we can have them. And so we want to maximize every single minute that we have with children so that we can do all we can for them while we have them with us. It was a very overarching theme with especially the parents on our committee that when we are not in school, oftentimes they cannot work. So society does not function at its typical level when we're not there. Also, it enhances, when children are with us, it enhances food stability and access to other services that we provide to them, occupational therapy, physical therapy, counseling services, all those kinds of things that are provided. When we have them in our care, we know that they're being fed at least 2 meals a day, and they're most of the time getting some kind of snack as well, and they're also getting their services that we provide. It is a desire, since a number of our schools are voting sites, that we make November the 3rd, 2026 an undesignated workday because it is a larger election and that just enhances safety. It's a desire of the stakeholder input that we have the Wednesday before the Thanksgiving break as a teacher workday. It was a desire to have that Monday, the 21st of December as a workday. It was a desire to have a full week at spring break, and also to create the same number of student days per quarter and semester, and we got pretty close to that. It was also a desire to end first semester as close to possible from the return from winter break. We did pretty good with that. To schedule the end of quarter work days on Mondays or Fridays. So we try to have a work day at the end of each quarter so that teachers have time to prepare report cards and things of that nature. So for instance, I think it's quarter 3 that might end on a Tuesday or Wednesday, but then spring break or Good Friday is that Friday. I might be saying that wrong, but I think that is what it is. It was in March, I believe. And so the quarter ends like on the 23rd or something. And so they just said, look, can we move that work day to the 25th? That way we don't have a work day in the middle of the week, then you come back on Thursday, and it sort of makes that disjointed week and messes up things for our parents and families and students. High schools did ask for 2 consecutive work days at the semester break, since they sort of start over in the semester break, right? But the committee did not acquiesce to that because, again, the parents and the committee and the members on the committee felt that that would be 3 consecutive days in a row plus a weekend, so 5 days that children would not have access to food and other services that we may provide. And that would also mean another day that parents would have to take off from their jobs potentially to help care for their children. They did initially ask if we could end the school year prior to Memorial Day, so we did mock up a calendar for that. And it worked. It only had 174 student attendance days. The one we're bringing tonight has 177. It only has 174 student attendance days. And there was absolutely no room for like work days almost at all. And so by the time we ended our first meeting, the calendar committee said, let's not even look at that one anymore. So we went ahead and did away with that one. The calendar committee greatly felt that we needed to have as many student attendance days as possible, again, for food security, access to resources, and to help families and parents along the way as well. And then also an increase in our student attendance days increases our reimbursements for NC Pre-K. So we talked about that earlier this evening, so that also impacts that. February 15th was asked for. It was a very popular choice, especially since without that, we are in school from January 19th until March 25th without a break. And of course, that's the dark days of winter. It's dark at 4:30 or whatever, and that can make it difficult. We had an email asking for Yom Kippur. So we do have a process for for employees and for students. If they do need a religious exemption, there's a process that they can go through, that they can ask for that, and that will be granted and excused. So we did a little digging, and we do have that new student information system this year, Infinite Campus. We didn't have the data that we could access previously. However, this year on Yom Kippur, we had 2 students who were marked absent for religious reasons, and then we had 1 employee who requested leave for a bona fide religious holiday in 2024 and 2025. Of course, all those were approved and excused each year. We do also celebrate different cultures, holidays. In the social studies curriculum, just one example that came off the top of my head was the Christmas or holidays around the world in December. And 88% of the calendar committee voted to stay within the framework of the state-approved holidays only. So we are bringing for your consideration this evening Draft B, which does contain 177 student attendance days. That is 44 days per quarter, 1, 2, and 3, and 45 days on quarter 4. 177 days times 6 instructional hours gives us some nice cushion with 1,062 total instructional hours. The total contact days is 215, which it is supposed to be. It does include the 10 designated teacher work days. It includes 7 undesignated teacher work days. It includes 11 holidays and 10 annual vacation leave days. This calendar B draft also starts with the first undesignated teacher workday on August 13, 2026, with another undesignated day on Friday, August 14, designated days, August 17 through 21, and then the first student attendance day would be Monday, the 24th of August, and the last student attendance day would be Friday, June 4th of 2027, with 2 designated days on June 7 and 8, and an undesignated day on Wednesday, June 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton, for being so thorough. We're at time, so I move that we add 10 minutes to this discussion,
Second.
because I know we have at least 3 people that already want to speak. So, any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
That passes 4-2. So I believe, Ms. Bradford?
Yep, my hand was up to move that we accept draft B for the traditional calendar.
I'll second that. Okay. So there's discussion. Mr. Wildebohr.
Well, I get to go first for a change. You're way over there now. Yeah, you're good. Just a real quick question. I want to make sure that everybody hears. I know the answer, but I want to make sure that. So if a child needs to miss for a religious holiday, Yom Kippur or any others, they will be given, obviously, all their work, and they will be able to make up all their work and just.
Correct.
With no penalty.
They
With
would
no penalty.
directly to their principal and work with that, yes. And that everyone's more than happy to help and accommodate.
All right, that's it.
Mr. Perry?
Thanks for the work of the committee. My only question is to you is that is this what you would recommend for the calendar, regardless of whether we went with the traditional one or not? I mean, yes, there are laws regarding it, but there are obviously plenty of school districts in North Carolina that are not following that. So my question for you is, we as a board could decide to opt to not go that way and do what these other school districts are doing. So what I just want to know from you, would this be the best plan regardless of what the state is saying? Is this what you would recommend regardless of whether we're following the rules or the state rules or not?
Dr. Barnes?
But there are plenty of other ones who are not, and it doesn't seem like they're really enforcing it either. So,
Dr. Barnes?
You're right in both those cases. I will tell you the board clearly, I'll take this one. Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. This calendar does not match what an ideal student learning calendar should be. An ideal student learning calendar would start earlier in the year, would match the community college calendar more closely, and finish up our fall semester before winter break. All those things are very much understood. I know that a lot of our community has expressed a lot of concern about, holidays and this day and that day. I want to remind everyone to expand your advocacy past this group of people. We are held to the general statutes that contain calendar law. There are districts who ignore it, quite frankly. And however, every district of a larger size that has tried it has been in court and has lost that court case because they are, an injunction becomes filed by someone in the community because it's not following the general statute and we don't really have a leg to stand on. But I will tell you that you're right, Mr. Perry, this is not the ideal calendar for what's best for our students. However, for everyone in the community, that is a state legislative issue, and your advocacy would be very much appreciated in that realm as well.
Dr. Merrick?
Thank you for saying so. Advocacy at the state level is really important, and from what I understand, they just passed some bit of legislation that now we would be fined if we did not. Like there's a new process where there's going to be fines if we don't follow. So
They added more teeth to it.
they added more teeth to it, as well as the lawsuits. So I think when we're looking at the non-negotiables, and one of the non-negotiables was, we're going to follow the calendar law because we can't really afford not to. First, Dr. Hamilton, let me say that you did an amazing job of working through what felt to me like a postdoctoral math problem. And I'm still trying to catch up with it, but you did it with remarkable grace. The constraints that the state legislature have instituted make it very difficult to exert any local control on our calendar. And while I appreciate the work of the calendar committee and generally feel that we should listen to our councils, listen to our committees, rather than coming back to the board and negotiating everything, it wasn't one email. We got multiple emails, and I can't tell you the number of phone calls that I got and the number of people who stopped me in public to talk about this. Now, I know we only have approximately 200 Jewish students, and although that's a lot of kids, in 24,000, some people might say that's not so many. I will say that almost every parent told me, my child told me I can't miss school. I don't care whether I get it off or not. I don't want to miss sports. I don't want to miss a test. It's hard to catch up afterwards. I don't want to be seen as different from my student colleagues. And most all the parents were really asking me to advocate for their religious freedoms, but I kind of have a different spin on it. I believe this is a teaching moment for every single one of our kids to be able to realize that not everyone is Christian. Not everyone follows the same worshiping patterns, and that because Christmas and Easter are taken off, we assume that they're very important. When we take off a day for another religion, it tells our students that that other religion, that other culture is important. I really think that's a teaching moment, and I do not want to go through all this mathematics over again. But We also had someone from early childhood education coming up saying we needed another long weekend in September. Was that Veronica Edge? I can't remember whoever that came up and said we need a long weekend in September. I would be in favor, and I would make a motion that we take the Super Bowl Monday, which is, there's a lot of efficiency in using that day, but it's not a teaching moment. And I would say put September 21st as a teacher workday. And so I guess I'm amending because you've already recommended to pass this, have you not?
Yep.
So I'm moving to amend it to pass it with the substitution of Super Bowl Monday and September 21st as teacher workdays.
You mean like flip-flop?
Flip-flop, yeah, we would go to school on Super Bowl Monday, but we would take off and make it a teacher workday on September 21st.
I'll second that.
Same number of student facing hours. We take one vacation, teacher workday in February and we put it in September.
I know Ms. Barnhart had her hand raised, so I want to make sure that I allow
I'll
her.
second that motion.
It was already
I did, right?
seconded. I want to allow her the time to be able to speak to it too.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did want to draw to the attention of, this is just 1 year calendar. In the past, we have done 2 years. And my colleague kind of spoke of the advocacy. This has been on the legislative agenda to address that we have flexibility. So if you could speak to why it's 1 year versus 2 year, and then I can finish my commentary.
Yeah, I'll take that one. We know there has been movement in, well, first off, for the last decade, there have been numerous calendar bills that have been put in front of the legislature. This was the first year that it really got taken up and discussed. My concern was that if we did a 2-year calendar and then this spring or next fall, we get flexibility back, it would be very hard for parents to pivot if they already had a calendar in their hand. So this 1 year gives us a chance to monitor the changes at the state level to hope that there's movement in the right direction, or what I consider the right direction.
Dr. Barnes, excuse me, it's the consensus of my back pew back here that we only did that 2-year rotation one time. I think historically we had done 1 year at a time.
Correct. Good job, back pew.
Thank you. And then to address my colleague's amendment to the calendar, we would be taking out a day in February, so it would be a gap from January 19th to March 25th with no recap day. And when you're talking about stakeholders as teachers and having some opportunity to say, let me get my things together, having 2 months go by to not support your teachers, to allow them the opportunity to make sure that their classrooms are running as efficiently as possible, I think we would be doing a disservice. I do appreciate my colleagues saying wanting to address different holidays. My understanding, these holidays are state-dedicated holidays. Am I correct in saying that? There are different things that me and my personal family, we celebrate that are not on this calendar, that we partake in those, and I have every right to do it, just like every parent has every right to participate what they want. This becomes the tricky situation if we're going to say to honor different cultures in a way that we're going to give the day off. I have a friend, she lives in Virginia. Their school district starts the very beginning of August, and they do not get out until the end of June. They have approximately 5 to 6 days off a month because they are celebrating and embracing so many holidays. The feedback from my friend who has 2 very high achieving children is it provides very inconsistent support for academic learning. And so when I know the caveats, and I do not fully agree with all the stipulations of the calendar law, however, we are bound to uphold laws as elected officials, so I'm going to continue to do that. When you're looking at this and knowing the criteria that you have to fit in, if we're going to start picking other holidays to honor, I think we are setting ourselves up to be in a very bad predicament at some point. I don't know when that point will be, but there are a lot of different holidays that our families celebrate. And I respect and honor the right for every single person to participate in those holidays. We'll honor the exemptions that we need to provide for those families and students. But as a board member, if I'm going to selectively choose outside the scope of holidays that are mandated by the state, I think this is a slippery slope, and it's showing our own prejudice and bias for specific religions that we would like to honor, and I think that's dangerous. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Bradford?
To address both those points that my colleague to the right just addressed, the North Carolina school districts, all of them, observe holidays designated by the State Human Resources Commission of North Carolina for state employees. So the state employee holidays are the ones that we're following. So if we choose to add or subtract, then we're going to be violating what we're supposed to be doing. Obviously, Yom Kippur is not on the state employee calendar. That's not something our district can change. Interestingly enough, the date for Yom Kippur in 2026 falls on September 20th through Monday, September 21. Students will only have been in school 19 days. You're asking to have a teacher work day 19 days into the school quarter. That's only half the quarter. It's an appropriate time, our committee decided, to have a teacher work day on that day. And you had, that was 88% of our committee voted on this calendar. The quarter ends on October 23rd. So having a teacher work day, later on in the following month, well over a month away, is more appropriate. And, you have to say we have holidays and we have teacher work days, and they shouldn't be commingled, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So we are at time, and there is an amendment on the floor to be voted on. The amendment is to approve the calendar swapping Super Bowl Monday in February with Yom Kippur. Ms. Bowie, will you call the roll?
Didn't get a chance to speak.
No.
Yes.
Mr. Wildebohr,
Yes.
Ms. Mason,
No.
Ms. Barnhart,
No.
and Mr. Perry.
Yes.
So because that was a tie, that motion fails. The initial motion on the table is to approve the calendar as presented. Ms. Bowie, will you call the roll on that?
Dr. Merrick,
Yes.
Ms. Mason,
Yes.
Mr. Wildebohr,
Yes.
Ms. Barnhart,
Yes.
Mr. Perry,
Yes.
and Ms. Bradford.
Yes.
All right, that passes 6-0. Okay, next item on the agenda is policy consensus, and I'm going to turn it over to our policy chair, Mr.
All
Wilford.
right, well, pretty straightforward. We've allotted quite a lot of minutes, but I did get a call from my board member way over there in the corner by himself. He brought up a good point, and I think instead of me kind of giving him an answer for it, I think we should all discuss it. So just take a moment to do that. Where it says every board member must be informed of the question and response by the requesting board member within 24 hours. The question that Mr. Perry, the board member over there raised was, what happens if the answer from the attorney is, I'll have to get back to you? So is that a situation that we want to, bring that out and just say, well, I asked this question and we didn't get an immediate response, and then I'll give you the response later on? Or would it be better just to wait until when you actually have a question and a response other than, well, I'll get back to you.
To take out.
So, and I thought that was a very good question that my colleague way over there asked. And I said, well, I think we all need to be on the same page instead of me just saying, well, this is the way I interpret it. So I would open it to anybody else's opinion. But I'll let you do the
You'll
call.
let me? Thanks.
I'll let you do that, yeah.
Thank you, Dr.
Sure.
Merrick.
Point well taken. Thank you to my colleague to the right who's been taking such a good care of the policy committee.
Oh, thank you.
I would make a motion that we would pass this policy change with the amendment that says question asked as well as question answered.
Okay, there we go.
So how would that read?
Can you please write that down? I'm dead serious.
You're
I want
assuming
us
I know
to,
how to write.
I want to make sure that we are
At this time of night,
consistent.
it's sort of
He's a
hard.
doctor, come on now.
I want to make sure that we're consistent so that everybody knows exactly what we're voting on. So if you could write that down, I would appreciate
And I
it.
will second that, Barbara.
You don't know what I'm going to write yet.
Oh, well, yeah. I trust you.
All right,
That's what it
gentlemen.
is. What
Mr.
you said
Perry.
Made sense.
I'd like to get clarification. Are you saying that we would notify the rest of the board of the question, and then we would notify them again within 24 hours when we get the response?
I think I can say it very quickly right here. In the line in red that says every board member must be informed of the question and response, I would add 2 words in there. Every board member must be informed of the question and also the response.
Okay.
So if they are separated in time, you get 2 different notifications. Was that not clear enough?
I think it's not quite clear enough.
I would have to say that seems a little extraneous. I don't see a need for the word also in there. I don't think that delineates it, in my opinion. Having to write doctoral papers and be concise. I'm learning what words you don't need to add to things. I think that adjusting it in a different way might be beneficial, but if we're going to do that, I would recommend that it be sent back to policy.
Yeah.
Are you amenable?
Oh, yeah.
So I move
We
that
need
we
something.
refer this policy to committee.
I withdraw my motion.
Perfect. You didn't have to, because mine supersedes yours. It literally does. So I am moving that we,
I'll second that motion.
thank you. All right, any discussion?
Can you please repeat the motion?
I move that we refer this policy to policy committee. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. No, sorry.
That passes 5-1.
Who said no? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Next item is the Board of, well, we have no old business. So next item is Board of Education Scholarship, and that is Ms. Geller, after Dr. Barnes says
No, I
so.
was pointing at him. Jen, you need to take 26 minutes.
I need to take 26?
Talk really slow.
No.
If you need to
Take
take more
10.
than that, you can take more than that.
Let's shoot for 5, okay? All right, so here we go. Over the past year, we have been conducting an informal program evaluation about the Future Teacher Scholarship. Out of the gate, I want to make sure that we recognize how important this scholarship opportunity is, how grateful we are from the county commissioners for it. It certainly allows us to attract and retain and secure our former students as teachers in our schools. So with that being said, it's important, and the goal behind this program evaluation was to ensure that the original intent is still what we're seeing in terms of an outcome measure. So I want to walk you through sort of 3 pieces tonight. I want to share some basic information about the program in case you aren't aware of just the key components. It is a rather lengthy promissory note with a whole host of requirements and details, which I won't go into tonight, but sort of the more salient pieces. I'll provide you with some information, really 3 years worth of data where we look back at our vacancies, our time to fill rates, expenditures on contracted services that are a result of not being able to secure people into positions, the changing landscape of licensure for our teachers that we are seeing come into the district, as well as some recommendations moving forward. So with that, let me remember I need to advance this. So I'll talk a little bit about, like I said, about where we've been in terms of the scholarship program itself, looking at our trends, and then where we're going in terms of recommendations and some ideas for strategic expansion. Okay, so just a few pieces of information about the program itself. As far as I have in terms of data going back, it looks like it was around 2011 in which it started.
So the money is funded from the county commissioners. It's a little over $100,000 yearly as an investment in our teachers, which is tremendous, as I said before. The scholarships are designed to ensure that we can support outstanding individuals who have an interest and who have shown an interest and some experience in teaching. That way we can secure them here in our district. The recipients are awarded $28,000 as a loan over a 4-year period, which is very generous. One condition is that the degree must lead to licensure. We have had students that may earn a degree in art, but it does not lead to licensure. So that is an important component of this scholarship. And they must pay back the loan by being employed with the district for 4 years. Here's a little snapshot of our recipients over the years, as well as those that have fulfilled their obligation for the loan. So we have been able to more recently reclaim some of the funds that individuals have defaulted on and continue to do that work for those. So you'll see, just for example, if we look at 2016, we had 4 students that were awarded, 3 fulfilled their requirements by coming to work for us, and 1 is now on a 5-year repayment plan. In other years, we haven't seen as much success. So if you look at 2019 through 2024, that span there, we had 4 recipients and 1 fulfilled their requirement. So with that information is really, that's really what kind of started us to look a little bit more closely at this. And then another important area is looking at the licensure, where we're seeing these students, what they're interested in going to teach. These are the areas that we're seeing. And so, of course, you'll see elementary education is definitely our greatest area and our most success in terms of recruiting teachers. And then those are some of the other areas that are initially what students select as their licensure areas. So if we look at our current data and staffing trends, at the beginning of the year, and again, this is just a 3-year look back, this is what we're seeing in terms of our vacancies. And we are extremely proud that we get to almost 0. If that'll ever happen, I don't know, but we're going to keep on trying. So that general teaching recruitment and ability to secure those employees is going really well. What you'll see is that our areas of EC teachers and those related service providers, so your occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech language pathologists, those remain a real challenging area to staff. And that's what we're seeing, we continue to see. The other interesting piece here that I want you all to see and understand is the average time to fill those positions. So at the start of the year, our goal is always to have everybody in place. But then, of course, throughout the year, we have vacancies, and it's important for us to look and to know how long it takes to fill those vacancies. For our general teaching positions, we can be around 20 days, even less sometimes, and we can get teachers moved in and into classrooms pretty quickly. The areas that we have significant challenges are those that are listed here. And I will even add to this that sometimes some of these numbers can be a little bit skewed in that sometimes we'll just pull a position down because our principals have been able to find, work something out and get creative while making sure that we meet the needs of our students. So a posting may come down and then we'll repost again. And so some of the numbers may even look a little better sometimes than what they truly are because of that. So that's something we really keep our eye on. And as a result of that, you'll also see here when I flip through these next few slides, because we aren't able to secure those individuals as employees, it now requires our EC department to resort to contracting with staff, which we all know in every other industry as well. As soon as you begin outside contracting, your expenses increase. That's not something, that is unique to us. We know that to be true. So those expenses continue to impact our overall budget, of course, and their daily rates for what they charge far exceed, what we can pay, which is probably a double-edged sword, right? But that is what it is. And you'll see how those contracted employees, these are for our educational interpreters, continue to rise. Our speech-language pathologists, you'll see that increasing every, for the past 3 years, and unless something changes, we expect to continue to see that, as well as our teachers of the visually impaired and our occupational therapists and physical therapists. An interesting thing here that we're going to see, where we haven't had to contract those employees in the past, we're extremely fortunate that our current employees are what I would call experienced or seasoned. Many of them are up in the 20-plus years of experience, which is wonderful for our students. However, we all know that retirement will be looming for them, and we're gonna eventually sort of hit a cliff as well with that, and we're gonna see a large number of those people retiring, and that's gonna, certainly impact our contracted services, again, unless we can do something different. The other interesting piece to this, and I know we've talked about this in many other environments as well, but one of the other, factors that we're seeing is that when we're receiving our teachers, especially, the teachers coming right out of college, they're initially licensed, but we're seeing workforce change teachers, right? So our residency numbers of licensed teachers are growing tremendously. So half of our workforce here that we're talking about aren't traditionally trained teachers, and that presents some challenges, right? We're certainly thrilled that we have people looking to career switch or, whatever it might be, but that just brings a different set of circumstances that we need to adjust and work with. So knowing all that, we certainly have strategies that we attempt to implement so we can mitigate what those challenges are to the best of our ability. And I wanted to share a few of those because they certainly go hand in hand, right? Where there are problems, we need to be looking at solutions. So one of the things that we're really excited about is being able to reinstitute the Teacher Cadet 1 and 2 academies here. They are honors courses, so we're excited about that opportunity. That will be reinstated at Laney, at Ashley, and at New Hanover High School. So that'll start second semester. So we're really excited about the opportunity to begin another pipeline. So that's something that's a little bit more of a long-term goal that we'll see in a couple of years, the benefit of that. We have been directing and targeting more of our recruiting funds to really be able to reach out and connect with our EC and related service provider schools and universities. So our focus really will shift to targeting for those teachers. And of course, other hard-to-fill teaching areas like math and science at the secondary level. We've also been able to, fortunately, through the use of Title II funds, been able to offer incentives or sort of offset some expenses of our residency and hard-to-fill teaching positions by offering tuition reimbursement or reimbursement for licensing and tests that will lead to their licensing. So we've been able to offset a lot of that. Fortunately, through Title II funds, we've been able to maintain, also through Title II, specialized support for our alternatively licensed teachers. We have one of our educator development team specialists that is solely dedicated to supporting the 90 plus, that number grows, of beginning teachers that are alternatively licensed. And then we're also able to, with the addition of a new educator development team specialist this year, we're able to devote some of that person's time to connecting directly with these Board of Education scholars. So that's something we'll be able to do moving forward. So as these folks are awarded these loans, they will stay connected as they begin their college career all throughout. And that way, that connection is there when we're ready for them to come back. So This individual, Ms. Pritchett, will be able to review their transcripts, make sure that their coursework is leading to licensure, being able to provide them support, just build that personal connection so that way when they're ready to graduate, we can keep them coming back here. And then, of course, through Title II as well, we've been able to offer some additional mentoring for EC teachers and being able to provide those stipends like we do for just the general mentoring. Okay, so with this information, what is it that we can recommend so that way we can make sure that the original intent of the scholarship is aligned with what we know to be our district needs, knowing that things have just changed over the years since its inception. This is just a quick snapshot, again, thinking back to how we know the scholarship program, the effectiveness of it, again, being very grateful and appreciative of it, looking at, with that data, where do we need to go and what are the changes that we need to make so we can avoid those folks defaulting on their loan and ultimately securing educators in the areas that we need them. So these are a series of recommendations, not in any particular order. Really the request is looking for that flexibility. So a first recommendation would be to look at reevaluating those recipients and that award distribution to those in their last 2 years of the program, instead of from the onset only. Another recommendation would be to prioritize and expand the scholarship awards. So we could look at expanding into other related service providers. Right now, we're really, we use the word future teachers. And while we absolutely need to continue to recruit teachers, we need to really shift our focus and be able to shift that into teachers that work with our students with disabilities as well as the other related service providers. So we'd like to sort of expand the aperture there. Another recommendation would be to look at providing some loan forgiveness to current employees who may currently have student loans, that maybe we would offer an additional loan forgiveness amount to them here and to remain here for a certain number of years. So they might not have been a New Hanover County Schools graduate. They might have been somewhere else and they're still paying off a loan, but they're here with us, and that would be a retention measure. Another recommendation would be that we can just tie in somebody from HR, specifically our specialist, to really be more embedded in the process, certainly not part of selecting the recipients, but just have them as part of this process along the way so we can build those connections right from the beginning and be able to better inform you all with what some of our data looks like as we look at recipients of these scholarships. The fifth recommendation, we'll look at providing some flexibility in awarding those payments to juniors and seniors out on the road. So when we go out recruiting, for example, App State, a lot of times, and what we're seeing now are colleges and universities are asking juniors to begin attending fairs. So while we're out and we're meeting people, we can say, in 2 years when you graduate, if you come and work for New Hanover County Schools for 2 years, we'll support through the same amount of money your tuition junior year, your tuition senior year, and you would sign a contract to come and work with us year 1 and 2. And then lastly, again, just look at being able to expand the marketing strategy for this. So being able to work more closely with our counselors so we can reach out to those other, again, just outside of the teachers. I'm sure you guys, I probably said that 10 times tonight, but sort of get out just that, beyond the basic general teachers. So key takeaways, again, first and foremost, we really appreciate this opportunity from the county commissioners. We're looking to realign the scholarship intent with what our hiring needs are now that we see it's shifted some. And through that, we're asking for some flexibility of that expansion into other eligible staffing needs. So for us, that next step would be sort of your approval for those programmatic adjustments. We would look at revising our marketing and application process so we can really try to reach out and contact those other students right now as seniors are meeting with their counselors and going through that process where we can really connect and build some more opportunities for those folks, develop and publish the future teacher scholarship timeline. We'll push that out, and then make sure that Brittany Pritchett's involved in all of it moving forward. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you,
Any
Ms. Geller.
questions?
It was a little more than 5 minutes.
Was it really?
It
Oh
was.
my
It's
goodness,
okay.
time flies when you're having fun.
We're
Sorry.
very over, but I very much appreciate all that you pulled in there, and thank you for including those educational interpreters. I know that was, some of this has started in conversation before that, but I know in conversation with you and other staff members, just talking about how we can hire more, and the cost itself just to contract out is just so exorbitant, and we could spend that on, so many other things. I am going to move that we add 10 minutes to this discussion, just so that everybody has an opportunity. Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Perry? This is just about adding 10 minutes.
Oh.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 6-2-0. Holy cow. So there were hands all over here and over here. I'm just going to go in a row. Ms. Bradford?
I'm just going to move that we accept the recommendations for expansion.
I second.
Second.
Okay. Okay, we're going to discuss that. Dr. Merrick?
I didn't get how, I don't know how much constraints the county gave us in their original, award for, and when you say that we need to, go and ask for, are you coming to ask for us, or do we also have to go and ask the county if we can expand in this way?
Dr. Burns?
I've brought up this subject with Mr. Coudray already, and he is amenable to making adjustments.
Love to hear it.
Mr. Wildebohr?
Well, first off, great ideas, well thought out. I think this is wonderful. The last couple of years, we've been kind of begging and trying to find somebody to come take the, I hate to say it, take the money, and we've got some great candidates last couple of years to do that. However, one question I had is, so, it looked like on certain things we have gotten 2 of the 3 or 1 of the 4. Or what is there? Are we still trying other? Do we have our attorneys involved to try to, because if they kind of ran with the money and that kind of thing. So yes, that's a yes. We are.
Yes, we are continuing to reach. We're in contact with just about everybody.
Okay.
Some people make it a little more challenging than others. So everybody that we're in contact with, we are working out a repayment plan, of course. We recently received a request from someone, and I'll bring that to you at another time. It was too quick to get it turned around for this because of some special circumstances. So we continue to answer your question. We continue to track down those that have defaulted. We have spoken previously with the attorneys about what are the different steps that we can look at, either moving on to collections or what are those sort of progressive steps that we can take. So we're well on our way with those, absolutely.
Okay, and I hate to be, a hard guy about this, but where does that money, so if they default, we get the money back? Does it go back into this program? Does it go back to the county commissioners? Where does the money go?
It comes back to us in an operating budget and then can be allocated back to the program or.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Perry?
The current program where we're giving when we give it, if they, please correct me if I'm wrong, so if they need to get a certification, they need a teacher thing, do we automatically guarantee them a job? What if they decide, hey, I want to get, they get their certification in art history or something or whatever, and we don't have any openings? I mean, so we don't have a contract with them when they're just graduating new high school or whatever?
So there's a promissory note for the loan that they sign, but because we follow them, we know where they are with graduating. We know what they'd be graduating in, and we can anticipate vacancies. So we make sure that those individuals have the opportunity to interview around the district, but we ensure that they have a job.
Okay, we do.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Because we know they're graduating, right? We can plan for that. What we'd like to be able to do is give the individual, of course, and principals the opportunity to interview like everybody else, but we will make sure that there's a position for them.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Barnhart?
Yeah, I just want to wrap up. I agree with the motion that's on the floor of revamping the program because teachers are not the only position that we need in this district to be successful. And so being able to rethink that and really be responsive to our needs, I think it shows ingenuity. And I'm glad to hear that we've already had conversations with the county because I think they also want to see us be successful. And being able to fill those hard to fill positions is necessary. So thank you.
So there is a motion on the table to approve these adjustments. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes 6-0. There is no closed session. There's also no personnel report. I would like to, because I know that everybody wants to rush out the door, board members, I would like to draw your attention to correspondence. I received a letter from Ms. Nelson. It is shared under there. And moving on to the announcements, Policy Committee will meet on Monday, November 10th. At 1, general public will have the option to view remotely on YouTube. I don't have to fly through these. It's so nice. The Finance, Bond, and Capital Committee will meet on Tuesday, November 18th at 12:30 here at the Board of Ed Center. Board of Education will hold an agenda review meeting on Monday, November 24th at 2 p.m. here at the Board of Ed Center. General public will have the option to view remotely. Board of Education will hold the December regular board meeting on Tuesday, December 2nd at 5 p.m. here at the Board of Ed Center. General public will have the option to view remotely on New Hanover County Schools YouTube. Sorry, I can't delay it any longer, sir. Sorry, sir. Is there a
gavel that? I don't think you need a second, do you? But second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Record time.
We are adjourned.
I tried for you. I did.